Well, a good Monday morning. Thank you for beginning this week with us. I know Indianapolis Public Schools back today. We will start to get more in the back to school front. Max Bowen, back to school. Very happy about that. And we will talk a whole lot of Colts here on this Monday morning. James Boyd, I think I've seen you for 13 straight days, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love to see. We both got haircuts, I believe, over the weekend.
You did. Uh-huh.
I saw Kevin. I see Mark has a nice shaved face. We had to get a little out of the wild there for a second with Cam.
Yeah, Friday was the off day. I think we all checked those boxes. Saturday, Sunday, the Colts had morning practices out at Grand Park, and now they kind of go to their summer camp, if you will. Like, I guess their other summer camp. They will be in Baltimore now all this week. It'll be a joint practice tomorrow for them, tomorrow afternoon, and then Thursday will be the preseason opener, and you are flying out to BWI later today. Is that correct?
Yes, I will be heading out that way after the show, but I will be back Thursday. Fly back Wednesday, actually. I will not stay for the game. I'll watch that from home, so I will be here Thursday for our golf outing and also for some reaction to the game.
So, again, Thursday, preseason opener. Colts just 4 practices left at Grand Park. Next weekend will be another busy one. They'll shift to the afternoon practice times next weekend. Saturday, Sunday, they'll also go on Monday, and then their final day from Grand Park will be a week from Thursday against the Green Bay Packers in those joint practices. Indeed. Mark Dykton, good morning to you.
Good morning, boys. How we doing?
How was the fair?
The fair was good.
Twofer, right? Back to back.
Yeah, I went to just test food on Thursday, and then Ashley wanted to go while the girls were in school, so we went over there. Me, Nora, and Ashley went. And then waved hi to Jake Query, who was broadcasting there, and he said, "Come on air for a minute." And I was like, "Okay." So then we did that, and he made fun of me having the cotton candy beer, but I said, "Well, don't hate it until you try it. It's delicious." And he's like, "Okay."
Nothing like joining his show and then him making fun of you.
Yeah, I was like, "I'm doing you a favor, sir." But no, it was fun. Did that, went out of town.
For some compensation.
Hung out with the families. My mom's birthday tomorrow, so we celebrated yesterday as the brothers were in town from Milwaukee. Played some golf yesterday with the uncles, cousins, and brothers. It was a good time.
That sounds like an awesome.
I was going to say, he had a great weekend.
Awesome weekend right there.
Got a birdie. I only played one time all year. Got a birdie on the 16th.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, Mark.
We are, I think, going to do a little fair action coming up tomorrow. Of course, fair closed on Monday, so I think we're going to fair it up. Tomorrow, Rosie goes back to school on Wednesday.
Got to go on Tuesdays.
Get a little $2 Tuesday action. For us. A ton, again, to get to here. We are recapping, I guess, a couple of Colts practices. I'd say 2 very different practices, Saturday and Sunday. And right now, one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the WNBA, with Caitlin Clark still in street clothes. That win streak now is 5 for the Indiana Fever, their longest in, I believe, a decade for them. And they have not only weathered the storm, but they have, I think there's inevitable pressure when you have like a star player hurt. And there's this urgency to kind of make the playoffs. And obviously there was all this preseason chatter about, a championship type of team, et cetera, et cetera. And James Boyd, it's now looking like mid-August maybe would be the earliest we see Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Now I feel like as they continue to string these together, they probably shouldn't make their decision off of where they're at in the standings. But at times it can be something you can't ignore. Tyrese Halliburton probably pushed it too much, a couple years ago. When the Pacers were kind of a little bit more in that mix. And I think the Fever have done such a good job in winning without Caitlin Clark. They now relieve some of that admitted pressure or not whenever her return will come.
Absolutely. And I actually texted Tony East last night to see if he would come on the show. And then he texted me back early this morning and said he was in Europe, which basically just called me broke. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry about that. I don't expect
perfect. That's 6 hours ahead of us. We've had people across the pond on all the time.
Exactly. But no, he's enjoying some vacation. But in the meantime, getting back to the game, yesterday, it perhaps wasn't pretty at the end, Kevin, but it counts all the same. I thought that this team has shown a lot of resiliency, especially over the last couple of games where Kelsey Mitchell hasn't shot it great. Another rough outing yesterday, but others stepped up. Big tip of the cap to Natasha Howard. She's been an outstanding addition to this team. Obviously coming back to the Fever after, I believe, being drafted by them years ago. So to see her step up, Sophie Cunningham continues to shoot it well. Aaron McDonald, the list goes on and on. This team, they kind of remind me of the Pacers with their ability to just be resilient no matter what's going on, what the scenario is. And, again, you're not only, like you said, Kevin, treading water, you're gaining ground. They're now up to the 5th seed, one game back of the 4th seed, and obviously the top 8 teams make it in the WNBA playoffs. So this has been a fun ride. And honestly, I never thought, years ago covering the Fever when they were really bad, before Aaliyah, before Caitlin Clark, that they would be 5 games over 500 without Caitlin Clark in the lineup. Like, that just blows my mind. And it speaks to not only the talent they have around her, but the resiliency.
Yeah, and they gripped that steering wheel like a kid in driver's ed the final couple minutes yesterday.
Man.
And trying to hold on for that
I was thinking this is going to hurt very badly if you blow this, but hey, they got it.
They survived a barrage there in the final minute or so, and they were able to hold on. Defensively, they are definitely, I think, better without Caitlin Clark. I think you've seen that here. Very nice defensive effort for them. Tomorrow with the Sparks, a team that's actually had their number here in the summer, so they'll play L.A. tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Again, the Colts joint practice number 1. They'll have 2 of these this offseason. Will be tomorrow afternoon in Baltimore.
Yep, 1 to 3.
As we sit here today, I always kind of find it odd when we have like a lot of Saturday sports happenings, and then there's also a lot of sports happening Sunday. It's like you almost kind of sweep Saturday under the rug, and I guess that's good news for the Colts quarterbacks because Saturday I thought they were awful. And yes, there's some context around it. When you get in some red zone periods, the field shrinks and the completion percentage maybe isn't as high, but still, I thought their most turnover day of camp. Daniel Jones was picked twice in a 7-on-7. Anthony Richardson was picked twice. I think his might have been both in 11-on-11, but they both bounced back yesterday, and I thought had needed practices. Richardson probably needed it more than Jones, if I'm gonna get really, really into the weeds on it. And James, I thought Riley Leonard. Shout out to the Notre Dame quarterback.
You're burying the lead here. That was the star of the day yesterday. He looked
great.
Like
second half Ohio State game.
Yeah, I mean, the third stringers were cooking yesterday, and Riley Leonard, at one point, they had to drive all the way down the field. He was 7 for 7 passing with some dimes dropped in there, and I believe that honestly was his best day of camp. Throughout all the camp days, we've seen some rough outings from Riley Leonard, but I do think that he took a step forward yesterday. Now, getting back to the other quarterbacks, which will be competing for the starting job, I thought Anthony, going back to Saturday, Kevin, when he threw his interception near the goal line in 11-on-11, that to me was like a very poor decision. The throw itself, mechanics-wise, I wasn't worried about that. It's just that he threw it in the crowd when nothing was there. And I think I might have went up to you or someone else and was like, wait, was that 4th down? Is this a 4th down scenario where you got to get rid of it? It was 2nd down. And I was like, okay, well, we haven't seen that sort of just aggressive and I would say arrogant with the arm talent type of throw where there was no window there. Kenny Moore picked it easily. And if he didn't pick it, I think, Cam Bynum, or Travaris Ward might have been in the area. And then he bounced back Saturday with better decision-making. And I think just better, continuity when it comes to, the layup throws. Saturday was more like what we've seen last year. And then Sunday, he kind of bounced back a little bit. So that's the ride with Anthony Richardson. I would say that Daniel Jones has been more consistent overall, but where I don't think he's gaining ground is that he hasn't blown you away during any practice. And if he has had his best practices often come with Anthony Richardson having his best practice as well. So Shane Steichen, coy about who he will start against the Ravens, did say that more or less he plans to flip-flop the starting quarterbacks the first 2 games. So we'll see who's out there in a couple of days.
Yeah, we'll get into exactly what Shane had to say about the preseason playing time. Sounds like it'll be different for each side of the ball here coming up Thursday night again, the preseason opener. I feel like there might be a starting job that before camp I thought was secure defensively that I really don't think is secure now as we've reached past the midway point of camp. So we'll hit on that as well. Pretty good day for the defensive line yesterday. Latu has strung together a couple practices here in these full padded sessions, and he was very active among some other defensive linemen yesterday. And we should mention thoughts with Salvan Ahmed, a veteran running back who, James, I thought honestly was one of the uglier injury scenes I've seen in, I guess, 14, 15 years covering Colt training camps. Part of it is maybe the location of where it occurred, because it occurred literally right in front of myself and, plenty of other people, and really in front of the stands. For those that missed this story yesterday, the Colts have had, I'd say probably a handful of these throughout camp where they go live tackling with the third stringers.
Right.
And this was one of those periods. So you are allowed to take guys to the ground. And Salvan Ahmed really ripped off a big run. He was in, pretty much the open field, was about to score, and undrafted free agent Trey Washington tried to tackle him from behind and probably rode him for about 5-6 yards. And it was one of those things where it almost seemed like it was in slow motion for me watching the play. I was like, oh boy, is he going to get off of him?
Yeah, like when is he going to let up?
Is he going to let up? Unfortunately, he did not, and it was what looked to be, and not that I've seen a replay, nor do I want to see a replay, but watching it live, it looked like the exact play the NFL has tried to ban from a hip drop tackle standpoint. And honestly, the screaming from Ahmed as soon as he went down will live with me probably for a while there. Severe right leg injury is how Shane Steichen worded it. It was very subdued, very somber, frankly. Shane Steichen post practice yesterday in describing that scene. The Colts players huddled around Ahmed. I think Cam Bynum, I believe, led them in prayer. At one point, I did see Chris Ballard go over to Trey Washington, really right after the play. The undrafted free agent, I assume, some sort of consoling of him on that play. But boy, just an awful scene. And thoughts and prayers with Salvin Ahmed and what looked to be just a horrific right leg injury.
Yeah, literally a tough scene. Nothing you can really go back and change at this point, which is probably the part that both of them think about a lot. You know, for Trey, he's probably regretting being that aggressive with the tackling. And I went down a rabbit hole with this yesterday, Kevin. And I'm not saying that this is excusable, because I just think that it wasn't. At some point, you got to just let up. I get he's desperate. He's an undrafted rookie, trying to make the team, trying to make a good impression, show effort. But I don't believe the hip drop tackle has been banned or outlawed in college football. So keep in mind, this is a guy who, you know, less than a year ago was playing on Saturdays, and that tackle is legal. And then you come to the NFL and you have to change probably the way you've been taught to tackle your entire life. And he made a poor decision. It was really, again, I think I used the word inexcusable, because you have to use better judgment than that. I'm sure he knows that now. But I'm glad that Zaire talked about it, Shane Steichen talked about it, where it wasn't intentional. It wasn't a case where he was, you know, going out there saying, I'm going to go hurt this guy. I think it was probably one of those cases where he was overzealous, Kevin, and it not only cost, you know, him, it cost one of his teammates severely. And the sad part is you don't know what the future holds for Salvin Ahmed, because he is a journeyman running back. You know, he's getting up in age. And so you wonder, or you hope that that isn't his last play on an NFL field or in an NFL setting. And then for Trey, you just hope mentally, you know, you're able to recover and bounce back and obviously, you know, have a great rookie season or try to make the roster. But just literally a very graphic scene. And yes, I was right next to you, Kevin, play right in front of me, and never seen anything like that. And obviously when you see somebody's lower leg pointing in the wrong direction, you know it's serious.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of a Dries Fountain a few years ago in a joint practice. It was a similar scene where, you know, for those that are out there at Colts practice, it's lively. The music, the cheering on the field, in the stands, all of it. And for it to just go dead silent so quickly was quite the scene. The Colts did do a 2-minute drill to finish practice after that. And then we'll await any updates from that. But yeah, I did think Zaire Franklin had some good comments and just kind of describing that. Zaire Franklin, by the way, made his practice debut over the weekend, so we'll play that audio upcoming for you. It'll be us three today. Jeff will be back tomorrow. It is myself, Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dyke. And thank you for beginning this week with us. This is the Fan Morning Show right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. How will the Colts handle preseason playing time as their opener is Thursday night? We will get to that here, and a quite confident A.D. Mitchell will hit on that as well. Again, they are off to Baltimore coming up later today. Their joint practice will be tomorrow, and the preseason opener will be 7 o'clock on Thursday. Their next practice at Grand Park will be Saturday at 4 o'clock. James Boyd, let's head out west, and that would be the Indiana Fever. That's 2 in a row for them out west to start this road trip. 5 in a row overall. They continue to get it done without Caitlin Clark. The balance yesterday, quite evident, and you pointed out, I thought, really well in that first segment. It's not like Kelsey Mitchell's going off. We obviously have seen her do that here recently, but yesterday, Sophie Cunningham, Natasha Howard really keyed it. Aaliyah Boston, yet another double-double for her. And really getting it done on the defensive end of the floor.
Once again, it doesn't matter how it looks. You just got to stack them, and they continue to do that. And I think the sign of a good team is, can you win without your best stuff? They did that yesterday, and hats off to the crew.
The L.A. Sparks coming up tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, and the Sparks have actually beaten the Fever each of the last 2 months here, and they've played much better than they were early in the season. So the Western trip continues, and again, no sign of Caitlin Clark making her return. We'll see if Stephanie White has any update coming up later today. Baseball over the weekend, the disaster at Bristol. Did you see some of those concession stand issues that they had there, along with the Reds being disastrous?
I have not paid attention to a lot of baseball. I'll defer to Mark. Did you check this out at all? I'm going to Google this.
I wanted to watch it, and I saw that there was a massive weather delay.
Yeah, so they pushed it to Sunday, and they had so many concession issues that it was like the Indy 500. They said you could bring your own food in on Sunday.
Are you dead serious?
Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard of that for a baseball game.
Are we done with doing this? Are we going back to Field of Dreams?
Maybe. I'm looking at this now. Yeah, this looks terrible if you were like a fan. Oh, my goodness. You were never going to eat.
I'm going to blame that instead of the Reds' poor play there. Cubs over the Orioles. The Brewers continue to be very good at baseball. Indianapolis Indians back at home. They've got the Storm Chasers from Omaha. They did win 4 of 6 from Iowa over the weekend. Mark Dykton last night on the socials, I saw John Cena took Tyrese Halliburton's.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, his crutch.
His crutch there, and I got nervous for a second. Can you explain what was going on?
So SummerSlam was the first time ever. It was 2 nights. It was out at MetLife Stadium in New York / New Jersey. And Tyrese Halliburton, they showed on the camera. He's up front, up close and center in the front row. John Cena and Cody Rhodes had their title match in the main event last night. And it was a street fight, so no rules. You can do whatever you want. And John Cena walks over to Tyrese Halliburton, grabs his crutch, and breaks it over the back of Cody Rhodes and legit bent it. So I'm like, well, if that was a actual crutch, Tyrese is going to need some replacements because that thing is not going to work anymore.
You think the Pacers held their breath there for a second?
Maybe. I mean, he didn't jump the rail or anything and get involved. But, yeah, it was cool to see Tyrese there. And glad he still got a little involved in the main event of SummerSlam.
Man, that man just doesn't rest.
He doesn't, and he loves his wrestling.
He did mention, though, I believe we were talking to Pat McAfee, that he wants to, or he knows it'll hit him when he can't play when the season starts. So with that in the back of at least my mind, I'm like, Tyrese, go do whatever you want to do now before you have to sit there inevitably and, kind of be bored and disappointed you're not out there with your guys.
I think he said to Pat, too, that he might not travel a little bit early in the season due to the rehab, so that probably is contributing to it. But, yeah, some might say, Mark, what is the better weekend, getting engaged the weekend prior or being a part of SummerSlam like that? You would probably vote for the latter. Correct?
I would vote for the latter, probably, yeah. It's good to be Tyrese Halliburton right now. Even in New York, he was not publicly named number one. I thought he got a pretty good there
were some boo birds, I heard.
He got some boo birds, but I thought he got a pretty nice reception. This is good to see.
We just need that regular return to the Garden, and then that'll be the real booze.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming.
Again, on the other side, we'll hit plenty from Colts training camp. A recap and 2 practices, 2 very different practices. For the quarterbacks, we will hit that. Where is the latest injury report for the Colts, and what will that preseason playing time look like as it is here? Thursday, 7 o'clock, Colts and Ravens to kick off the 3-game preseason slate here in 2025. I'm Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. Good Monday morning to you. Thank you for beginning your week right here. That is 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Awesome start to the week here of August 4th. I'm Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. Jeff will be back tomorrow. Jeff re-enters, and James Boyd, you exit. You are off to Baltimore for, I guess, one joint session, correct? And then you're back here before the preseason opener on Thursday night?
Yes, sir. Just a little quick trip out to the East Coast, and I'm excited to see Lamar Jackson up close. God bless you, Mark. And to also see what does this defense look like against a quarterback like that. Obviously, I want to see the quarterbacks for the Colts' purposes, but defensively, I'm very curious.
Will you give a what's up to our good friend Chuck Pagano while you're there?
Yes, I will. You know, he's probably loving this to be back in it, with the football. And obviously, he's a lifer as well. I kind of think of him and Rick Venturi, a lot of these guys, as people who, in some capacity, will have football in their lives just because they can't really function without it. And obviously, the health challenges he's been through, so I'm happy to see him back out there doing what he loves.
A senior defensive assistant, secondary coach, something like that, for Chuck Pagano, back with John Harbaugh's staff. I want to hit something you said a little bit earlier, and I know Mark in the YouTube chat asked this. You said something about Daniel Jones, that he has been more consistent, and Mark chimed in with, well, if he's been more consistent, isn't exactly what the Colts wanted from him. So
yeah, fair enough.
Do you then take that a step further and say, well, he's been what the Colts want from him, that means he'll be the starter? Or are you not going that far?
I'm not going that far because I don't think that Anthony has been as inconsistent enough to just blow the job. I still think it's relatively even right now, and if it's even, tie goes to the guy that you drafted 4th overall, in my opinion. I don't think that Daniel Jones's consistency, which has been better, I don't know if we charted it, Kevin, he would probably have a higher completion percentage throughout these first, 9 training camp practices. However, there isn't a big enough gap there, in my opinion, to say, oh, this guy should definitely start over Anthony. I think that if he wanted to win the starting job, he would have to go out there and clearly outplay Richardson, and that just hasn't been the case throughout training camp. I think Mark is the one who was saying, or has been saying, when it comes to the quarterbacks, if you start Daniel Jones to start the season, you're telling Anthony it's over. And I don't care what Chris Ballard says, the front office, the team, oh, we still believe in him. No, you don't. If you start Daniel Jones week 1 over that guy, it is over. However, if you start Anthony and it doesn't go well, you still got Daniel Jones waiting in the wings. So I think it's a little bit easier of a transition to go from, Anthony to Daniel than Daniel to Anthony.
Yeah, there's part of me during the summer that thought, boy, the loser of this competition might be the biggest winner because everyone will be.
Mark was on this train early.
Everybody's going to be wanting this dude to be the starter
credit
by
where credit is due.
Not even by Halloween, probably by like the end of September. They're going to be clamoring for whoever the number 2 quarterback is.
As a Bears fan, there's no more popular person in the city than the backup quarterback usually.
Sure. Well, I would say this.
True.
We're now 9 days into things at Grand Park. It continues to be like whenever Anthony Richardson takes over the offense, that cheer continues to be much, much higher than it is for Daniel Jones. Yeah, I would say Daniel Jones largely has been who he is so far through camp. And I think a lot of it's just going to come down to what exactly Shane Steichen wants. If he really means consistent, if he really means he wants to wake up and have a good feeling for what that quarterback's going to do, then it's probably Daniel Jones. But if he actually is going to sit there and look in the mirror and be like, you know what, we can't live with that dink and dunk. We have to do something down the field, then it's Anthony Richardson. So, again, Steichen, I just think Steichen's a little bit more pro Daniel Jones than a lot of people want to admit.
Than he wants to admit publicly, I think, because the word consistency has been brought up over and over and over again with Daniel Jones, and that is the word that Shane Steichen has also mentioned as far as what he wants at quarterback. So, again, I don't think that Daniel Jones has done enough to really separate himself from the field or from the pack when it comes to him and Anthony. But at the same time, as long as Anthony kind of keeps a close tether to him, I would honestly say that Anthony might even have a slight lead at this point, just because Daniel hasn't outplayed him. I think Anthony gets the nod. But here's a question for you. Are we going to see a quarterback change, no matter who starts week 1, in the first month of the season?
I think you got to give that week 1 starter a month.
Well, I meant like after the first 4 games, By week 5, do we see a different starter?
Oh gosh, I mean,
Like that's a
yeah. I mean,
that's
season will be off the rails at that point,
yeah,
right?
that's a real question because in my mind, I'm also thinking
At that point, you're staring 1-3 or 0-4 in the face if you're thinking about making a quarterback change, right?
exactly. And in my mind, if you're looking at 0-2, that noise is going to get loud.
Yeah,
especially if the quarterback play isn't good. Now, if you lose the first 2 games and it's because this new defense, which I would be honestly very surprised, like gave up a ton of points, and Bo Nix and Tua. I'm sorry. I feel like I keep saying Tui because of Tui Molowow, but Tua and the Dolphins, if they go off, I think that would obviously be a different case. But if it's quarterback play that causes you to go 0-2, oh man, that seat's going to get very, very high.
Well, and it gets back to so far as how, and again, the competition has played into this, but it gets back to a combo I had back in March of saying my worry with having a quarterback competition with 2 bad and inconsistent quarterbacks is that at the end of the day, you give them inconsistent reps and they're still bad and inconsistent.
Yeah, here's Mark Leach in the YouTube chat. I don't know if this is fair, but I think this is kind of funny. He says, AR is Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it tastes like coffee from 3 weeks ago. DJ is Speedway coffee. Never good, but always the same. Just like, I don't know about never good for DJ. I mean, he has led a team to the playoffs, which was years ago. Daniel Jones, he actually had a great game against the Colts.
I think I like that analogy by Mark.
But I mean,
I think that's pretty good work.
Yeah.
Maddie got some Dunkin' Donuts coffee yesterday.
I've never had bad Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
How many days are you going a week, though? I mean, if you go 7 days.
I think you got to be a coffee snob to really just all of a sudden shun the Dunkin' Donuts like that.
I'd say it's more like, the motel coffee or like probably training camp coffee or something where it's like, it's here, it's fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't purchase this for my own house.
You're just trying to survive in advance.
Yeah.
At that point.
Which, honestly, I think that it would be the approach with Daniel Jones.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've
survived in advance.
I think the analogy I've used is, you're dropped in the middle of the lake and can he keep you afloat?
Yep.
Can he? That's sort of the thought process with that. Again, both quarterbacks I thought were really poor. I thought Richardson was extra poor on Saturday.
Yeah, no need to sugarcoat it. It was bad.
And then they bounced back yesterday in a better day. For those that missed it, playing time for the preseason. Shane Steichen touched on this a little bit after practice. It sounds like both quarterbacks will play whatever a good amount means, but those were the words Shane Steichen used on Thursday. And then the reverse of that will happen for the Green Bay game coming up a week from Saturday. So, again, I don't think it's the most shocking thing in the world. If you have a quarterback competition, you're probably going to let it play out through 2 weeks of the preseason. So this will be different, I think, in all likelihood, James, than what we saw in Richardson's rookie year, where he was named the starter after the first preseason game.
Yeah.
With Gardner Minshew. Again, that wasn't like an outright competition 50-50 split as much as this is. So it sounds like the quarterback plan for Thursday. Shane will, I think the thought was he was going to tell the quarterbacks tomorrow, probably share it with the public coming up after tomorrow's joint practice with the Ravens, and then he will flip-flop that for the Green Bay game. Will you make anything of whoever is the initial starter Thursday?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you think in their eyes, whoever starts Thursday is the leader?
I honestly think so. Hey, this Ravens defense is supposed to be very, very good. If you want to get reps in, you want to see what your guy can do, you're going up against
of course, we got to wait and see if the Ravens play their starters.
Fair enough. But also, I was getting at the joint practice, too. Like, how does that look? But
so you think tomorrow's starter matters to you?
That, too, yes.
Okay.
I think it all matters. I'm not saying, like, it's the end-all, be-all final decision. But in my mind, if I'm leaning towards one quarterback over the other, why the heck would I play him second? That just doesn't make sense to me. And I get that, there's other logistical things you want to factor in, but I don't see the upside or the incentive to not play the guy that I think is going to be my dude first up. Simple as that.
Yeah, the second preseason game, I think it'll be interesting. Like, when is that dress rehearsal? Like, will they view the Green Bay game as like, hey, let's actually play our starters a little bit longer in that game?
Right.
Do you get into that sort of feel with the preseason schedule?
That's the logistical stuff I was talking about.
Because remember, you only have 3 of these games.
Yeah.
When you had 4, we kind of got in the cadence of like, you kind of slowly progressed towards the third preseason game.
Right.
Then you played them a little bit longer. And then the 4th preseason game was the, to use the Rick Venturi phrase, it was the tryout bowl. It was all these undrafted guys trying to compete for a roster spot there. I don't know if I don't think I really agree to Shane Steichen on the plan with the defense, though. It doesn't sound like they will play their defensive starting unit much, if at all, in the preseason. I don't know. I think when you're installing a new system, I think it's important to get those guys some reps together. But
I would agree.
he really didn't commit to any of that. He did not sound like a guy with much urgency when it came to seeing Lou Anarumo's defense play. And
do you think that's because of some of the injury stuff? DeForest Buckner missed a couple practices, I think, with the foot.
Yeah, I mean, Buckner's kind of been off and on a little bit. Javarius Ward's been off and on. I mean, Zaire Franklin, we still have yet to see him in a full team practice. He did 7-on-7 yesterday.
Cornerbacks are banged up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's some of it.
But still, though, I mean.
It's like, well, I mean, to me, I think weeks 1 and 2 are just massive. I think they are such important games.
Especially.
And if you have inconsistent quarterback play and an inconsistent defense out of the gate, that's not a recipe to starting 1-1 and 2 or 2-0.
No, and to your point, if you're gonna start a Justin Wally, for example, he needs those reps, and I do think he'll play a ton when it comes to obviously joint practices and should get a good amount of reps in the preseason. But whenever, and it's always kind of like dicey, but how do you sort of make it all work when you have veterans who you trust to execute at a high level, like Cam Bynum, like Javarius Ward, but how does Justin Wally's role change when they're on the field versus when they're not? He can't play the same way. So I just wonder, how do you wrestle with that decision to try to get as many bodies out there that are going to be in your starting lineup?
Couple things I do want to get to. I feel like there was a starting job walking into Grand Park I thought was pretty secure, and now what are we, about 2 weeks into things up there in Westfield? I don't think is secure at all. And then I think a little on the Terry McLaurin, Micah Parsons front. That seems to be the dominant storyline from a national standpoint here. Gosh, I'm so glad I don't cover the Dallas Cowboys for many reasons. But that drama,
get your damn act together,
continues to play out there. Yes, thank you, Jerry, for that. Are they still doing camp in California, the Cowboys?
I'm not so sure. Let's see.
I thought they were one of the teams that still goes off-site.
Like, I got a feeling there might be.
Are you just at Baltimore's facility tomorrow, or are you guys in the stadium? Where are you at tomorrow?
Their facility, which is like, I think 6 minutes from their stadium, something like that, in a car. So, as you can tell, I've researched this.
Is it open to the public?
I'm not sure. I believe it might be, because whenever I see any social media from the Ravens at their practices, they're always running out of this tunnel where, like, Lamar Jackson and others are, like, high-fiving a bunch of kids. So I'd imagine it's similar to Colts camp where you have that fan experience, which is good.
Again, joint practice number 1. The Colts will have 2 joint sessions here. Just one with Baltimore, then the other one coming up a week from Thursday with the Green Bay Packers. Again, yesterday afternoon, I don't know why you would have been inside because it was such a gorgeous day. But the keys to the game brought to you by the Hubler Automotive Group. Check out your next car at drivehubler.com, Indiana's giant automotive group. An excellent performance by the Indiana Fever. They did have to hold on tight there late in that game, but on a night where they were 4 of 22 from 3 and had 16 turnovers, they still found a way to get it done. They beat Seattle 78-74. Natasha Howard, very good. Sophie Cunningham, key. Aaliyah Boston has set a franchise record, her sixth straight double-double. By the way, I love this from Ari McDonald. Did you see her tweet over the weekend about how she's in grad school?
Yeah, having a 12-page paper due on a 4-game road trip is wild. I believe she said something along those lines on Twitter, and I was thinking to myself, 1, I didn't even know you were in grad school. 2, what a beast.
She said she's in grad school for applied behavior analysis. That sounds like something I need for Max Bowen right now.
It sounds like a story I should do because I didn't know this. I'm very curious, actually. I need to dig more into this because
yeah, it sounds like a great story.
She didn't reveal this at all until that tweet, I believe. And mind you, this is not a player who was very sure of her WNBA future to start the year.
Well, she wasn't on a roster.
Exactly. So it wasn't like she really, planned, I guess, logistically when it comes to the schoolwork, but, getting it done, obviously, on the court and hopefully off the court as well.
Yeah, she chimed in and said, I work on assignments on the plane, bus, before and after games and practices, and 12-page paper due. Boy, I just hear that out loud. Think a 12-page paper. There's no chance in hell I could write a 12-page paper on anything right now.
No, I don't miss those days whatsoever.
Yeah, I wrote a 15-page paper overnight in college. For any students who are ditching school this early in the school year, don't do that. if you're listening, because that was horrible. One of the worst experiences of my college career. Ugh. Pulled an all-nighter, turned in some garbage. I mean, I passed the class, but yeah, that was not fun at all. And actually, I got a 20-page paper assigned for one of my classes, you all, my senior year of college. It was our final. And I did the math, and I had a pretty good grade in the class. And I was like, if I don't turn this in, I can still pass with like a C-. So I emailed my teacher, and I said, hey, I'll just be up front. When this is due, I will not submit anything. You don't have to come find me. I will take the 0, and I'm graduating. So, thanks for your time. And she respected it, actually. I think she's probably glad she didn't have to grade a 20-page paper. So got out of there with the grade that I needed to get, and my parents were still pleased that I walked the stage.
You were peacock strutting after that.
Yeah, that was like legitimately, because I was a pretty good student, that was the only assignment I ever knowingly ditched in college. But at that point, I threw in the towel. I was thinking, do I want to hang out with my friends, make sure I pass some harder classes, and enjoy my last couple weeks on college campus besides writing a 20-page paper?
And by the way, I meant to ask you, and that is the voice of James Boyd over there. I'm Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton with us. Of course, Jeff Rickard will be back coming up tomorrow. I thought I heard just an excellent analogy out of you in regards to an Anthony Richardson comp over the weekend. And I want to make sure I have this right. If you could share some details around it. The phrase was, if you are leaning, you better be cleaning.
Yeah. That was
Did I hear that correct?
That is correct. And the analogy that I was using, we were talking about leadership action on the James Boyd podcast. I thought you got, sick of hearing me, Kevin, throughout your experiences
Never.
on
I've
the
seen
show.
you 13 straight days.
Yeah.
I got to hear you.
So,
I'm listening for Jim Aiello.
So I know who I love, by the way. It's honestly, it is, that's a whole other tangent, but it is great to have an editor who actually covered the team because we're always on the same page when it comes to covering things and how we should do it. But anyways, yeah, I use the term, if you're leaning, you got to be cleaning, or if you're leaning, you can't be cleaning, because I had a job back in college when I was working in the dining hall, and I had an older lady who was basically like my little grandma of college, and she told me that line because one day I had done all my work, and I was just chilling, and she's like, well, you got to look like you're doing something. And I used that analogy with Anthony Richardson for last year, where I think he was a bit naive and didn't realize that all the cliches matter when it comes to quarterback. Showing up early, staying late, even if you just look like you're doing nothing. I mean, or look like you're doing something and you're doing nothing. Just pretend.
So too much leaning, not enough cleaning.
Too much. I mean, he's told us himself, oh, I got to sacrifice more. Oh, I got to stay later. And I'm like, well, yeah. Even if you're just there twiddling your thumbs at 5 a.m. in the morning, just do it. You hear Cam Ward in Tennessee, he's like, well, I get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Realistically, there's probably no need to get there at 5 in the morning. However, he's doing it because it matters optically for the position. So I think Anthony has learned or has at least continued to learn that when it comes to quarterback position, beyond him playing better, because I think that'll solve everything, you need to win all the other little quarterback quirks that come along the way.
Gosh, now that you say that, I remember I worked in the Finish Line warehouse after my freshman year, and yeah, I feel like I had a boss that said something similar. Guys, those are great lines. If I ever become a boss one day, I need to start writing these down.
It's so true, though.
Keep these in a book.
I'm looking at others in the YouTube chat saying, you ever heard the same line when I worked at Crew Car Wash?
It's like Boss 101 school.
Man, I'm telling you, you got to just look busy. Just look busy. And so I am curious, though, and I don't know if we'll ever get a full, clear answer on this, but just how he approaches stuff differently than last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think internally the Colts would say, like, hey, if the meeting started at 8 o'clock, he's walking in at 7:59. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
how about walking in at 7:49?
Yeah.
Or how about walking in at 7:52? Like, that sort of aspect to it. I do think Anthony Richardson also comes from a different family climate culture than maybe some other quarterbacks as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more writing on Anthony Richardson. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like, James, you and I have shared this before. I forget what streaming app it's on, but they followed him around in high school.
Yeah, Netflix did the QB1 series.
Yeah.
Then they moved it off of that platform. But to your point, yes, him and Bryce Young. And
Him and Bryce
it
Young were
was
two of the three quarterbacks. And
yeah,
it was a
night and day.
180 from Bryce Young's high school atmosphere, which was like a college atmosphere,
Yes.
and everything around him versus Anthony Richardson's. And yeah, I get that some of these Richardson quotes you've heard from training camp, they can be frustrating to people. Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, it took you this long to hear that I can't be slacking anymore and all of that. But we'll see, obviously, how it all plays out. I think something to note that I am eager, James, for tomorrow when you're out there in Baltimore, and then, of course, Thursday night, seeing how much Richardson and Daniel Jones play. I would say Richardson and Jones have been pretty good in 2 of the last 3 practices.
Yeah.
Now, both of those days, the Colts wore down 3 of their top 5 corners. Yesterday, again, was one of those days where they were really banged up at corner.
Looking at that roster, Kevin, I was like, who's 35? Who's 36? Right. Who's this? Who's that?
It is a lot of that at the cornerback position right now. So, again, going up against somebody else because, think back to Cincinnati last year in that joint practice. I mean, the Bengals defense was literally laughing.
Yeah, no, I was there.
At Anthony Richardson for not throwing the football, or when he did throw it, not accurately enough.
They were calling him basically like trash to his face.
And that turned out to be spot on, unfortunately, for the Colts. And I think I don't want to make too much out of these small sample sizes we get in August, but I do feel like if you go back the past several years, there's been these moments for the Colts, i.e. that moment in Cincinnati. I think back to a preseason game in Buffalo a couple years ago where the Colts played their starters, Buffalo did not, and the Colts backups got whooped in the first quarter. Or, excuse me, the Colts starters got whooped by the Bills backups. And again, it's like, wait, how much do you make out of just a little bit of August sample size? Like, didn't the Lions go undefeated in the preseason the year they went 0-16? And, like, didn't the Colts always lose with Peyton Manning in the preseason? But yet, with this Colts era, I feel like the August indicators have carried into the season.
Right.
So, I do think that is something to keep an eye on for tomorrow.
One of my best friends who is a Lions fan, the year they went 0-16, I purchased a shirt, and he says he still has it to this day. I bought him a shirt that said preseason champs because they're 4-0. And he's like, and then we never won a game. It was the first year he ever bought NFL Sunday ticket. He's like, I bought it to watch the game, and they didn't win a single game. Like,
I didn't know that. That is actually that should be like on Jeopardy or something.
Like, you should have got a refund.
And
They
I
should
want to
have
say
refunded you.
that was back in the four game preseason schedule.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you bought NFL Sunday ticket for the first year ever because obviously the Lions were out of market, and they didn't win a single game. So he had all that money that he flushed down the toilet.
I think that might be
didn't even
bad
get a
karma
win out
for
of
you.
it.
Because now he's getting the last laugh.
That's true.
And you're just sitting here as a Bears fan.
You get a free T-shirt out of it too.
Yeah, that actually is pretty
I
good.
always wonder, is it free if you paid all that money? Like when you go somewhere, you go to the dentist or whatever, and they're like, hey, you get this free thing. And I'm like, well, I had like a copay, so I pretty much paid for this, but thank you. That's how I feel most of the time.
Boy, there is something about coming home with that bag, and I'm like, here we go. That travel toothpaste. Here we go.
That is clutch. I actually have to get some travel toothpaste when
I'm set.
in the airport today.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I know.
I'm set.
I have a question. Smokey the Bear shirt? Or what is this? What do you got going here? Is it a dog?
The Vols, baby.
Oh.
Yeah, this is when I went to Tennessee, Georgia SEC game a few years ago. And, yeah, me and my buddies on a boys trip, we all bought Tennessee shirts before. You know, you can't just walk through the tailgate fields acting like you're sticking out like a sore thumb. You got to blend in. So
yeah, this is true.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite shirts. And, again, college football, we are nearing.
Yes, I can't wait. It's going to be great.
We are nearing. I think we're 3 Saturdays away coming up this weekend.
And that whatever Saturday it starts on, there will be no productive James Boyd on that day.
We'll be productive in the 8 o'clock hour. What to make of Terry McLaurin and Micah Parsons and how that could apply to the Colts. Also, the swagger of A.D. Mitchell alive and well. What was seen and what was heard from number 10 here in week 2. We'll hit on that. And unfortunately, quite the ugly scene near the end of Colts practice yesterday. We'll recap what exactly took place with that. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton here on a Monday. Thank you for starting your week with us. We'll talk a little NFL in the 9 o'clock hour. Matt Verderam from SI going to join us. He made a stop at Colts training camp. What was that, James? Probably a handful of days ago at this point.
Yes, and he's usually, doing a lot of Chiefs stuff as well. So afterwards, I was asking him, Chiefs quarterback room or Colts quarterback room?
Well, that's certainly quite the debate you could have.
Yeah, I was ready to argue, but no, that was not much of an argument on my part. But
speaking of Chiefs quarterback room, my brother said he ran into one Carson Wentz at a local Kroger over the weekend. Is Carson Wentz done?
I believe he's a free agent right now. I don't think he's done. Okay, hear me out.
What's that age for Carson Wentz? Definitely north of 30, right?
Let's
32,
see. He
33?
is 32. He is currently a free agent, I believe. Let's see. Oh, no. He is signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Is that what we have here?
No, well, why was he at the local Kroger?
I don't know. Oh, this site I might not trust. Clicked on a site about this, and I'm like, I'm not seeing an ESPN.com.
Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield having training camp at Zionsville High School. And
I still think he's a free agent. I don't know what this article is about. However,
he was Mahomes' backup last year.
I know.
One play away.
And honestly, I think he is probably one on the better side of backups. You look at the other ones out there, Tyler Huntley and Teddy Bridgewater and CJ Beathard.
Teddy Bridgewater's doing the high school thing, isn't he?
I know.
We need him and Phillip Rivers in our high school kickoff here.
Do you welcome him back? If
well,
one
not
of the,
here.
If one of the Colts players goes down, one of the Colts quarterbacks goes down,
no,
I can't interest you in Carson Wentz over Riley Leonard.
I think Jim Irsay might have some words for you from up in the sky.
I was about to say you might come out the grave and be like, "Oh no, this is not going to happen."
No, that is not happening.
Okay,
on my watch.
Making sure.
Whatsoever. Colts in Baltimore. They'll fly out there later today, and then joint practice coming up tomorrow. I did want to hit just briefly on the national storyline, and again, we will recap what was just an awful scene, frankly, late in Colts practice yesterday here in a few minutes. But, obviously the Michael Parsons, Terry McLaurin trade request, Michael Parsons' direct quotes, "If I don't want to be here anymore," are really dominating the NFL storylines. James, oftentimes when players of this ilk express similar views, the question immediately, they flood your timeline, they flood mine.
Yeah.
And it's probably happening in 31 other NFL
it's
markets.
happening literally in my real job. Hey, you got a trade request for us? I'm like, I really don't.
So what do you make from a realistic nature? Like, is this something that the Colts should, and take either or take neither if you would like, do you think the Colts should be in the market? And again, I always ask for realistic nature. Should they realistically be pursuing Terry McLaurin and or Michael Parsons?
So I'll start with this. I think Terry McLaurin is more likely to potentially be moved than Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons is a 26-year-old top 3 edge rusher in the NFL, not named Myles Garrett or TJ Watt. Like, he's elite, and he's been elite for a few years now. So he's very valuable, and as much as you want to entertain the idea of him being traded, if you're the if you're the Cowboys, he can request a trade. You could just tell him, "I'll see you tomorrow." That's how NFL contracts work. He can be upset about it and all those things, but he's not going anywhere, in my opinion. However, I would lean, if I'm the Colts, and I'm trying to look at this through a realistic lens, I would lean more towards Terry McLaurin because I feel like it will be less of a cost to give up to get him. For example, I'm not sure I would give up a first-round pick for Terry McLaurin. If you go after Michael Parsons, you're giving up probably 2 first-round picks, if not more compensation on top of that. So, to me, if there was a world where I thought, okay, could I offload Alec Pierce or potentially Michael Pittman Jr. to bring in Terry McLaurin, that to me seems like a more realistic path than Michael Parsons, which is, heaven and earth. And I debated this with JMV on Friday, I believe, Kevin, because he was saying he believed that if the Colts traded for Michael Parsons, it would be a move to legitimize them. My counter to that is that you only make that move if you know for sure your quarterback is a dude.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. if you don't have the answer at franchise quarterback, I largely think you're frozen from doing these types of things.
But could I interest you in Terry McLaurin because he would help your quarterback situation? In theory. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
but I just
spitballing
think
a little bit here.
I think you're still stuck in the same place of looking for that guy. And today's
Looking for the quarterback, you mean?
Right.
Right. Okay.
Like that guy.
I was like,
that
that
guy.
guy is definitely Terry McLaurin as far
all
as wide receiver
caps,
one. Yes,
that
okay.
guy. I mean, I go back to when Buffalo drafted Josh Allen, they traded up on 2 different occasions to get to number 7 overall to take Josh Allen. And if you were to do the Micah Parsons deal, or even if you were going to dabble in the Terry McLaurin, I mean, you're talking draft pick plus money, picks plus money. How much does that hinder you from making a trade? Or if all of a sudden you're a 9-win team, but your quarterback play looks meh again, then are you just stuck in the teens without a first-round pick if you're going to trade for a guy like Micah Parsons?
Right.
And let's say you give up your second-round pick for Terry McLaurin. Are you just hoping and praying somebody falls to 16 or 17? Or, you don't, again, have that second-round pick. It's like, I know the NFL and the NBA, maybe it's not exactly apples to apples, but, I think a big reason why the Pacers were able to pivot so well, they had all of that available to them. So, yes, they made the huge trade for player to get, I should say, players for players to get Tyrese Halliburton. But when all of a sudden the Pascal Siakam thing was presented, they had all their first-round picks to be able to go ahead and make that sort of move. I don't view the franchise in a light where they're able to dip their toes into that water. And I just don't think Band-Aids work in the AFC. I mean, I know I've done this exercise many times on the show before, but we can go down the list of AFC teams that feel like they've got their quarterback right now.
Yeah.
And it's 8, 9, 10. And a lot of them are right with that. And I'm not even including, what, New England might think of Drake May or what, Tennessee might think of Cam Ward. I mean, if you just look at Lamar and Burrow and Stroud and Josh Allen, obviously, and Mahomes and Herbert, I mean, that list is a very impressive list. And so as much as, yes, these players would be upgrades and would certainly help your team at critical positions, I think when you don't have quarterback, you're frozen from trying to entertain this stuff, which I know is not the Madden video game you want to play, but I think it's a reality you have to live in.
You do. You do. And honestly, it all comes back to the quarterback. So often in this sport, we talk about defensive schemes and defensive units and skill position players, but it just comes down to often, do you have that guy, like you said in capital letters, Kevin, under center throwing the rock? And the teams that do, for example, I believe Houston kind of was aggressive. I want to say maybe last offseason or the year before, where they went out and got Stephon Diggs, and they tried to go get, I think they went and got Joe Mixon.
Even trading up for Will Anderson Jr., a couple
like
drafts
when you
ago
get a dude at quarterback, you're especially on a rookie deal, you're willing to, take those swings. But in the Colts' case, it's been so convoluted with, injuries, inaccuracy, the benching, where you can't really be aggressive like that with Anthony sort of in limbo as far as being your franchise quarterback or not.
Well, and I also think, James, you do see teams start to plan ahead for this stuff. Like, Cleveland last year. Remember Jacksonville coming up to get Travis Hunter? Cleveland gets the additional first rounder for next year. So now Cleveland could be looking at 2 top 10 picks.
Yeah.
Their own and then Jacksonville's. Remember late in round 1, there was a surprising trade back in April of Atlanta coming back into round 1. They traded with the Rams. Well, what's the Rams' thought process? Find life after Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
Now they have 2 first-round picks for next year in what is supposed to be, a very good quarterback draft class. So I think part of that is kind of where it's played into as well.
I would agree there. But as far as actual moves the Colts can make, do you think there is a possibility that we could see another potential free agent signing before the end of the summer? Is there any position, Kevin, you're looking at to say maybe we can add just a little bit here, a little bit there? Because for me, I do think linebacker is one of them. Or am I sold on what I've seen from Joe Bacci, who's had a good camp? I got to give him his credit. Austin Ajaki, Cameron McGrone. Am I okay with that being my backup plan?
Well, let's go to linebacker for a second because I've teased it on a couple different occasions here throughout the show. Walking into Grand Park, I'll speak for myself. The thought, I think, from me and I think definitely internally was Jalen Carlisle as a starter next to Zaire Franklin. Jalen Carlisle, for those unfamiliar, 5th-round pick 2 years ago, made the position switch from safety to linebacker in the NFL. Played, a decent amount for a day 3 rookie last year, and I thought flashed a bit. EJ Speed now moves on to Houston.
Yeah.
The thought is now Jalen Carlisle becomes a starter. Jalen Carlisle was taking some second-team reps over the weekend. Wasn't out there yesterday. And you mentioned Joe Bocci, number 48, for those that have been out at Grand Park. He picked, was it Jones he picked on Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in a 7-on-7. He comes over from Cincinnati, which obviously Lou Anarumo
knows the defense.
Exactly, and he's gotten a ton of starting reps here without Zaire Franklin. Now, Zaire is yet to play in the 11-on-11 periods. Maybe that happens tomorrow, but I guess to answer your question, yes, linebackers one I definitely would be looking into, and I also sit here 9 days into training camp thinking we might have an open starting job next to Zaire Franklin, which I didn't think that at the start of camp, and Carlisle has been pretty quiet during camp.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the amount of playmaking like we've seen from some other guys. So on the radar of kind of things I'm now looking forward as we get into joint practices, as we get into preseason games, as we start transition, linebacker continues to be one. And Zaire's overall health. You could look at the Zaire thing one of two ways. One, you can look at it and say, well, he's never been hurt, so everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Or you can look at it and say, this is the first time he's ever had surgery in the NFL. This is the first time he's ever missed 3 months in his NFL career.
Right.
He's nearing 30. How does he look coming off of that? So, yes, to answer it, I would say linebacker.
And to kind of pivot a little bit, talking to Zaire, it was fascinating to hear him say what went into the decision to have the surgery, because he referenced the Minnesota game that they played. And I believe this was the 2022 season, Kevin?
Oh, I assumed it was Sunday Night Football this past year.
Or was it Sunday night? Oh, yeah, it was actually. You know what? I completely forgot about the game. Actually, both times they went to Minnesota, they were awful when it comes to the outcome of those games. So, yes, I would imagine that is the game he's referencing.
And just kind of gutted it out the final 2 months of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And from the sounds of it, it bothered him a little bit more as the summer went on. So for those asking, oh, my gosh, he knew he needed surgery right away. Why didn't he get it sooner? I think a lot of it was a pain tolerance thing, but also he had been playing through it and with it for a while. He made a joke yesterday on saying, man, if you all knew everything that these guys went through, all of us went through, you would have articles for days. And then I want to tell him, well, if you got, any more, injuries you want to disclose or you want to stitch on your teammates, feel free. Because we all, as we know, Kevin, it's a running joke in the media room that every year, at the end of the year, we go over to DeForest Buckner and we say, hey, off the record, what are you dealing with? And he lists blah, 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 blah. And he'll have like 8 sacks regardless. But
yeah. Then I flew to South America to try and get mine.
That was as open as he's been. He went to Panama to get some, stem cell surgery for his ankle. But for Zaire's purposes, yes, I wanted to make that clear that it wasn't like he neglected getting the surgery. I think it was like a last resort type of thing because he thought it would get better on its own, and it didn't. And to his credit, he's still, in theory, going to be available for the start of the season.
We'll get back into the quarterback combo here in just a second. A very important and needed bounce-back day from Anthony Richardson in particular, and I thought there was a rookie that actually probably had his best practice so far of camp. We'll do that here in just a second. But, James, let's hit on what was certainly the scene of yesterday, and such an unfortunate scene, and really one of the more eerie scenes I've seen out at a Colts training camp practice, late in practice during a live tackling period. And for those kind of unfamiliar with this, Shane Steichen has done this probably, I don't know, let's call it a handful of days here throughout camp where the third teamers, they go live. Earlier in practice, actually, Riley Leonard led a touchdown drive during a live period. But Savon Ahmed, who is kind of a veteran running back, fighting for a roster spot, he breaks one in the open field. And I would say he was probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 yards from the goal line going down the sideline. And it looked like he was going to score. And undrafted safety Trey Washington tries to tackle him, which, again, is allowed. You can take these guys to the ground.
Right.
Jumps on Ahmed's back and it kind of gets ridden, frankly, for about 5 to 6 yards. And it got to the point, James, where it turned into a little bit of slow motion. And I
Yeah,
thought,
we're all waiting for him to let go.
yeah, I thought watching myself like, oh boy, how is this going to end?
Yeah.
Because it was starting to get to the hip drop tackle. And unfortunately, that's what it turned into. Washington took him to the ground, and it was a horrific scene. The right leg injury, labeled as a severe right leg injury by Shane Steichen. Very quickly, the field, the crowd, immediately silent, and sadly, the only thing that could be heard was the scream, the very audible scream from Ahmed. Team came around him. Cam Bynum had appeared to lead the team in a prayer. He was eventually, I think, aircast, stretchered off. Looked like there was an ambulance coming to pick him up there shortly thereafter. Again, Shane Steichen said after practice, severe right leg injury on that. Just awful. And I guess I'll say this, James, because you were out there at the practice last year. We saw a little bit of a similar play from Nick Cross against Josh Downs.
Yeah.
Last year.
And
Now,
it cost, I think, Josh Downs the first 2 weeks of the season because
correct.
of a high ankle sprain.
Cost him about a month or so.
Yeah.
I would say two things different from this play. One, that play with Cross was not a live tackling period.
No.
This was. Two, that play occurred a little bit more in the middle of the field, like in the action.
Yeah, and I felt like it was a little bit more like bang, bang type of thing.
Yeah, whereas this one with Ahmed is, again, he's 30 yards down the field. He's
Yeah.
borderline going to score.
I believe he might have scored, before the injury actually occurred. He was crossing the goal line at least, or reaching
So
for
just
it.
to set all that up, let's play the Zaire Franklin clip, and I'll let you react to it, James. But this was Zaire Franklin after practice yesterday in describing what he saw, and sounded like he was one of the veteran leaders that Shane Steichen talked to after the play about, should they finish practice. Zaire Franklin clip.
I love Savon. I mean, I've known Savon for about 9 years. I knew him back when he was at UW, back when I was training in Seattle as a young pup. Extremely tough. Praying for him, loving on him. I'm obviously shoot him a text. I know he's probably going through all kind of mental stuff right now. It's a tough situation. Young Trey, I mean, he's competing for a job, straight up, so he's out here trying to compete and trying to be better. And, we're warriors on that field. When we step on that field, we understand what the possibilities are. Obviously, we're a team, so we're not trying to hurt each other, but at the same time, we're competing. These guys are trying to feed their family, so it's a part of the game. But definitely a tough break for Zavon. Definitely praying for him.
I couldn't, necessarily fathom what Savon is going through, and obviously I've never played football at that level to really sit up here and say, oh my gosh, I can understand completely where they're coming from, his teammates. But I thought what Zaire said was pretty, empathetic, and also kind of shows, the brotherhood of the NFL, of this game that they play. And I thought it was interesting and also fitting that Zaire would also extend some grace to Trey Washington. Because keep in mind, those live periods, those reps, the reason why Trey Washington actually went that hard, I believe, in that moment was because every little thing counts. And I think Zaire is a perfect person to talk to and allude to in regard to that, Kevin, because this is someone who may not have had the opportunity to become last year a second-team All-Pro if he didn't get those developmental reps years ago as a seventh-round pick trying to make the roster, trying to make a name for himself. So, if people are upset about the live tackling period, it's like, well, these guys need that to showcase what they can do. And without that, you wouldn't see some of the underdog sort of success stories that you've had. Now, I know I'm on a tangent here, but that's one of the reasons why, talking to some of the guys about the NFL possibly shorting the preseason. It's like, well, if you shorten the preseason, all the underdogs, all the guys that might be diamonds in the roughs, they'll have less opportunities to kind of be that person. And so, again, unfortunate play yesterday with Trey Washington and Savon, but at the same time, I don't think that this should be a referendum on oh my gosh, we should never tackle again in live periods. Or
Charlie asked if you should cut him, Trey Washington. Would you cut him over that play?
I think I would have to sit down after my anger or just frustration had, dispersed. Because in the moment, I was definitely saying cutting him. Am I in the moment?
Right.
I'm like, just get off the field. What are you doing? But now, having slept on it myself, this is me personally, James Boyd. I do feel for him. I understand he's a rookie. He's coming from a level where they allow that kind of tackle. So honestly, it will be a knock on him, but it wouldn't be, in my opinion, something where I'm like, you got to just get out of my sight. I brought him in for a reason. I want to see how you perform. Can you bounce back from this? And honestly, it was a long shot for you to make the roster anyway, but I don't know if I necessarily cut him for that.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. The raw emotion of watching that unfold yesterday. Yeah, and you had fans chirping at him, frankly, right after that play happened. Chris Bauer did go over to him, it looked like, pretty quickly right after the play happened. I assume some sort of consoling. I think there were some veteran defenders that went over. I mean, he stayed knelt on that sideline for a while. Like, even when they restarted practice there.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows full well. I thought, though, the Zaire clip, I wanted to play that for a reason. I feel like, and again, Zaire was a 7th-round pick out of Syracuse. So at one point he was in Trey Washington's shoes. I think it's the very difficult dynamic. And, I think you bring up a good point. Undrafted kid from college, again, Nick Cross wasn't undrafted, when that happened last year.
Right.
And that wasn't even a live tackling period.
Right.
So, so far, obviously, we've seen nothing from a
and
roster
they need
move
those
standpoint.
reps. Again, you would never see a lot of the underdog stories.
Third teamers get 3 to 5 reps every practice.
Yeah, so they need that. It's just a very poor decision and obviously a very ugly outcome.
Mark, let's hit a morning check now. All right, again, the Colts heading to Baltimore coming up later today. Joint practice tomorrow, preseason opener Thursday. Let's go out west, though. The Indiana Fever continue to play excellent basketball without Caitlin Clark. James, do you make anything out of they are just, frankly, a better defensive team without her on the floor?
I do think they probably are, but I don't want to make that an end-all, be-all because they're obviously a different team offensively when she's out there. And in the world that I live in, watching pros, I would take the offensive engine, the offensive savant over, perhaps some of the defensive deficiencies.
Now 5 wins in a row. Again, all of this without their star. And I thought what was impressive yesterday was, again, they shot it terrible from 3. They had a million turnovers. They built a big lead. They held on for dear life over the final couple minutes, but they beat Seattle 78-74 and kind of a quick turnaround. They won in Dallas on Friday. Quick turnaround to playing up in Seattle yesterday, but they were able to get it done. They've got the LA Sparks coming up tomorrow night. That is a 10 o'clock tip for them as they continue their longest road trip of the season. All right, on the diamond, the Indianapolis Indians back at home. They've got the Omaha Storm Chasers all week over at Victory Field. They did take 4 of 6 from the Iowa Cubs. Speaking of the Cubs, 5-3 over the Orioles. Them and the Redlegs. Boy, do the Reds desperately need it. They start a big series today. And Mark Dykton, we have Mondo's on the line.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, you said what, your mother or mother-in-law found Mondo's, and I didn't know they still made those out after 1999. So
yeah.
I want some Mondo's, so I'm pulling for the Cubs to take care of business against the Reds.
Do you think those have sugar in them?
Without question.
I was going to say, is that a serious question?
Yesterday, I went to my nephew's basketball game. My daughter and my son got some of those like little nerd candies from like Nerd Licorice, like Nerd on Licorice.
Nerd ropes?
Well, not the full ropes. I feel like they're kind of like chopped up ropes, like little smaller candies. Boy, I had a couple of those.
The clusters?
Oh my gosh, I could have had 30 of them.
Oh, those are amazing. With
Those
like
are good.
it's nerds on like the gummy stuff.
Yeah, that's
Unbelievable. Those
things
are
are dangerous as hell.
Those are one of my favorite candies. They are outstanding.
I had to stop. I had to like put them in the bag and like walk away from the bag.
Yeah.
Speaking of basketball, I went to see, after practice Saturday, I went back out to Westfield later that day, Kevin, because my old AAU coach, Derek King, who's now my dad's best friend, was in town because his grandson is playing AAU basketball. Played over at the Pacers Athletic and Event Center. The first time I've ever been over there for a game. And Kevin,
man, you've spent more time in Westfield.
Yeah, I went Friday night back out there as well. I had a teacher that moved to Westfield recently, and she wanted to visit.
Call you Andy Cook the mayor.
I know. So I've been putting a lot of miles in the car, seeing people that I love. But nevertheless, I wanted to say all that to complain. $20 to get in for this AAU tournament.
Yeah.
And they were asking me, do I want a day pass or a weekend pass? Because the weekend pass was $35, and I was like, I don't pay $35 to see Tyrese Halliburton and Caitlin Clark. I was thinking I better see some good buckets up in here. And I was joking with his grandson, who I've known for years. They lost by 2 in this game, and he actually had a pretty good game. He scored 14 points off the bench. And I told him, I was like, you do realize I was going to, boo you if you were coming out here and stinking it up, and I paid $20 in here. I was going to ask you for my money back. But he gave us, some nice action.
Yeah, I think ours was $17. So for me, Rosie, and Max.
How old? Because the kid I went to go see is a sophomore in high school.
Yeah,
I'm
watching a third grader play basketball.
$17 for a third grader. Inflation, people.
Yeah.
Inflation.
I was stunned. But,
the things you do for love.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I had my cousin, or my nephew, he's in baseball, and they had a thing where they had a tournament, and you had to pay like $15 to watch the game. And then if they advanced, you had to pay another $10. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's not a buy one. It's not an all-in
so now
series.
Cheering for him
I
to
was
lose.
going to say, you like, okay, strike out here.
Because the game would take place later in the day. So once they were like, well, these kids aren't going to stick around. They got to go have lunch and everything like that. So you have to come back and pay again. That's ridiculous. What is going on here?
Yeah.
Coming up on the other side, the swagger of A.D. Mitchell is alive and well. How did the quarterbacks respond to a pretty poor practice on Saturday? We'll hit on both of those items. Jeff Rickard will be back tomorrow. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton here on a Monday morning. How did the quarterbacks bounce back from what was an ugly one on Saturday? We will hit on that here coming up in a few. And A.D. Mitchell, always a man that brings some strong words to the podium. He also had some comments I want to share coming up here in a few. I was reminded of this over the weekend. I saw the Pacers tweeted out, I want to say this was Friday, that it was the 5-year anniversary of T.J. Warren scoring 53 points in the first game from the bubble. I'll never forget that game and that night for a couple of reasons. One, I remember it was the first time that Rosie slept through the night, and I thought I was literally having a dream when all of a sudden I woke. I thought the power had gone out in the house when I woke up, and I was like, wait, what happened? How is she still sleeping? Is she alive? Should I go in there and check her breath? T.J. Warren retweeted the Pacers highlight reel of his effort against the Suns, where he was, I believe that's his former team, by the way, 9 of 12 from 3. James Boyd, the caption that T.J. Warren shared, like throwing a rock in the ocean.
He was shooting that thing, as Pops would say.
53 from T.J. Warren.
That's a lot of buckets.
That bubble run, he wasn't 53, obviously, every night, but like, I feel like he had a couple 30-pointers. And
that was a fun Pacers team, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Pacers didn't last very long in the old bubble there in terms of the playoffs, but, man, T.J. Warren was getting some buckets. What happened? Just injury with him? Was it like a foot right after that?
I want to say my first year and only year covering the Pacers full-time was 2021-22. And I started in, like, November of that year, Kevin. And I never spoke to T.J. Warren because he never got healthy. It was 2 weeks. Then it was, weeks turned into months.
Yeah, that was the old quote. I forget who the coach would have been, Bjorkgren, McMillan, whoever it was. But that was the whole, like, we're talking in weeks, not days, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that kind of the update we would get on him?
Yeah. And honestly, I think that was Rick. Because I was Rick's first year back, I believe.
Oh, was it Rick?
With the team. Yeah, so that was rough. And I don't think he spoke until perhaps after the season or something like that. But, yeah, injuries kind of messed him up. But T.J. Warren, to his credit, even before the 53-point game, he's a pretty good scorer. I mean, that was his MO in the NBA. It's just a bucket getter and someone who could fill it up.
Jamie says this, I keep thinking the early Colts schedule favors Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback. These are obviously super important games if you want any chance at the playoffs. And if Daniel Jones is the more consistent player with a higher floor, I got to feel the scars from last year will lead to Shane Steichen playing it safe with DJ. Appreciate your thoughts. That from Jamie.
So my counter to Jamie would be, which I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea or the wrong idea, is that can you frame the quarterback competition in the manner of who will give you the best chance to win those first two games, or are you doing it for the totality of the season, or are you doing it for development as well when it comes to Anthony? That's my question, is like, can you get that sort of finite with your decision to say, well, this guy might be better for these two games in particular versus the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, I think Shane Steichen's got a very tough dilemma within his own, like, kind of internal mindset, if you will, because the thought when you drafted Richardson was the NFL it's too difficult to drive 80 yards in 12 plays. You can't live in dink and dunk. You can't.
Right.
Defenses are too good. Offenses, you're eventually going to have a penalty. You're eventually going to have a drop. You can't live with that either. But it almost seems like 2 years into the Richardson experience, as many big plays as he has created, now the thought has become, no, we just need consistent. We just need single, move the runner over, sack fly. Like, that's now it seems like Steichen's thought process. And there was a moment last Thursday, James, in the joint, or in that situational scrimmage night, where Richardson had a drive where Jones stalled out the previous drive. I don't know, 4 plays and they punted, or, I say punt in quotes. And then Richardson gets in there and he chucks one deep to Doolin. And next thing you know, they're moving.
Yeah.
And I want to say he had maybe an incompletion or two before that. Like, it hadn't been perfect, but he offers you the more big play ability. So that's where I do think Shane when he does make this decision, it's how much does he really mean consistent? Because if he does mean that, through 9 practices, Daniel Jones is the more predictable quarterback. He's the more consistent quarterback. But is that enough in a camp where I would say for the most part, through 9 practices, Richardson's been a little bit more inconsistent, but I would also say it hasn't been as egregious as it has been in years past.
Right.
So are you willing to live with that? Or to Jamie's point, do you look at these first couple games and think they're so important? Does Shane just bet on himself?
Is it a Shane decision? It has to be, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think he will listen to Ballard, but yeah, I mean, Shane's the head coach. He's the play caller.
No Carl Say Gordon stepping in and saying, hey,
no.
You do as I say. I run this.
Now, I am curious about the Carly Ursay Gordon input, influence.
Like, what does that look like?
When you're talking the Terry McLaurin, Micah Parsons stuff. Because if I'm her, I'm stepping in and saying, guys, I get you're on the hot seat. I get you might want to make this move. But I got to think about the future of the franchise.
Yeah.
And we don't have quarterback. So don't touch those first-round picks. We need those.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you're making that decision next year or not. For the Indianapolis Colts and the future of our franchise, we need that because we haven't put a quarterback up on the side of Lucas Oil Stadium in quite a while. We need to start putting a quarterback up there. It can't just be a corner and a guard and a running back and a D lineman.
You know what I was thinking as well? To your point about like the posters or banners, whatever you want to call it, on the side of Lucas Oil Stadium. Anthony's been a team captain the last 2 years. Is he going to be a team captain again?
I think whoever the starter is, right? Just the.
They have to be?
Shane Steichen throws the C on the chest.
I posed that question to you guys, and I got to know. I said, will either quarterback be the team captain?
Is there a team in the NFL that doesn't have their quarterback as a captain?
That's a good question.
It just seems like, who
I'm
cares
just-
about
I'm
the
just
player
saying,
vote?
like,
They just give it to you.
Well, how many franchises don't have their quarterback on the side of their building? It's usually the most marketable position.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought that was odd.
Like maybe Cleveland?
Yeah.
A
Well,
little rough out there?
A little. Derek is 100% that Danny Dimes can't go deep. Yeah, I don't think it's that, James. I think we saw a few plays in the spring, honestly, to Pierce. We just haven't yet seen it in camp, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
he can physically do it. I just don't know that he really
I don't think it's a
wants
Matt
to.
Ryan shot arm by any
No.
means.
He can sling it. I think it's just a
Yeah, there's a hesitancy.
desire to not do it and to be more conservative. He's a very – the way I would describe Danny Dimes, as the YouTube chat is calling him right now, is that he is safe. When I watch him, he looks safe, where I'm like, okay. And I'm not as harsh as Coach Venturi, who came on our show last week and was like, he doesn't wow you in anything. Personality, hair, eye color. Like he didn't say that far, but I was like, dang, this guy is maybe not as exciting as some others would like him to
I'm
be.
not swiping right on Tinder or Hinge here.
Yeah. That was funny. I got a kick out of that from Coach, saying the personality might not be there, but I would imagine it shows up more on the field and in between the lines. And does that matter, or does that factor into your decision at all? And if it does, how do you weigh that? So it's hard for me to say when it comes to this quarterback competition, just which way it'll fall. And also, what will be, how do I phrase this? What will be the lasting effect of whoever's in there? And do they stay in the mix? Do they stay in the starting position? Do they stay as QB1? That's my biggest thing is like, we are going to spend so much time arguing over who's going to be the starter just for a month to go by and for all of us to be asking potentially, well, do you start this other guy at this point?
I did some quick research. Could you name the one NFL team that apparently did not have a quarterback as a team captain last year?
The Raiders.
No?
Dang. I was right.
Was Watson a captain in Cleveland?
There's no way. No way. Not last year. There's no way. He was hurt, and he's obviously been in.
Was Will Levis the captain for the Titans?
It says Deshaun Watson was a captain with the Browns, and it says Will Levis was a captain of the Titans.
What?
There was one
I'm
team.
trying to think. Who's bad?
Mark, should we tease this?
It
Everyone.
you'd
couldn't
like
have been the
to.
Bears. They had Caleb Williams.
No, it was not
everybody
the
will be
Bears.
staying in their cars to hear this one.
Okay.
That and A.D. Mitchell's comments on the other side. We'll talk some NFL in 10, kind of league-wide. Matt Verderam from SI, he was at Colts camp a little bit earlier. I think he was at one of the bad quarterback days, if I remember correctly. Honestly, there hasn't been too many of those, but he was there at Colts camp making the rounds throughout the sites. Mark Dykton teased us earlier with the only team in the NFL last year not to have a quarterback as their captain.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, Mark?
Correct, yes. So this is Wikipedia. So this, take this with a grain of salt.
This is gold.
But this
got me
is
through college.
supposedly the list of NFL captains. And one team, from my quick research, did not have a single quarterback named as their captain.
Brain.
Claude is saying the Saints.
The Saints
It might have
last
I would have
year.
guessed Derek Carr, though.
Oh, yeah.
Taysom Hill, Eric McCoy. So I would say Taysom Hill counts, right? Taysom Hill's
Yeah.
still listed as
Doesn't
quarterback.
He's still listening
Cam
as a
Jordan,
quarterback.
Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis.
Oh, my gosh.
So Derek Carr wasn't a captain last year?
I'm trying to go
No,
through all the teams.
Not according to that.
Wow, Derek Carr's past history in the NFL doesn't make him a captain, but Anthony Richardson does.
I don't know. Again, this is Wikipedia, so maybe he was, and they just didn't
All
list
right. I'm trying to think of another guess.
him. All right. Do you want any hints?
Sure.
This team hasn't really been known for very good quarterback play in the last probably 5 years.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
Wow,
that.
that's a great hint.
The last quarterback they had was potential Hall of Famer. There's a lot of debate as to whether he's a Hall of Famer or not.
Giants?
The New York Football
Honestly,
Giants.
That is I should have guessed it because their quarterback played last
Danny
year.
Dimes was not a captain for
No.
them?
Andrew Thomas, Bobby Okereke, Dexter Lawrence, and Casey Kreiter.
Wow, Daniel Jones wasn't a team captain for them.
By the way, speaking of Bobby Okereke, did you guys, and again, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the post-game of the Chargers locker room after the Hall of Fame game. Did you see Jim Harbaugh let Nyheim Hines break down the team?
I did not see that, but I'm excited that,
really
he had
cool.
a chance to do that.
Yeah, obviously.
Been through a lot.
Been through a ton, the jet ski accident, and he played a lot in that Hall of Fame game. I didn't realize this, but I think he led the team in the amount of carries, did some return duty, so he's trying to make it with the Chargers now. And, yeah, shout out to Jim Harbaugh for letting Nyheim Hines break it down the other night for him.
And how long ago was it when he was with the Colts? I want to say that was 2022. So
Yeah, they traded him, what mid-year for Zach Moss?
yeah, that was the last
the
time that I believe he
third-
really
not a third
played
rounder, but-
extensively in the NFL.
Late-round pick.
Yeah, was
Yeah,
that
went to
season.
Buffalo. Didn't really play a lot in Buffalo
Had that
before the
crazy
injury.
start though on special teams.
And I want to say he maybe had did he have a kick return for a touchdown the game after DeMar Hamlin?
Yeah, I think it might have been 2 in the same game. It was a crazy.
That was 2 in the game.
Crazy performance. But obviously, when he was here, and I didn't cover him a lot, but briefly, he was a very nice guy.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly on that. James, we didn't have a show after the Saturday practice. If we did have a show after that Saturday morning practice, you would have described the quarterback play as what?
Yuck. Ew. P.U. That's what I would have been saying because it was stinky with some of the play that we saw. Anthony Richardson, in particular, really struggled. I believe he was 3 of 10 in the team periods, Kevin, and threw an interception to Kenny Moore the second. Should have got picked off again in 7-on-7 by Sam Womack, who jumped the route. Just a rough day from him, and honestly, we hadn't seen a day I think that poorly from him, arguably through all of camp, even counting the beginning of camp. And then I thought that Daniel Jones was on Saturday. He wasn't as bad as Anthony, but certainly wasn't all that good. I think he threw two picks in 7-on-7, and both really struggled in the red zone. And I do wonder about that. Ideally, most teams are just going to run the ball. And I do think the Colts will be a very good short yardage running team, whether Anthony or Daniel Jones is in there, given the addition of Tyler Warren. And obviously, JT is really good. However, man, if they have to pass, like if it's late in the game and you need to save some time and they have to pass within, close quarters, I don't know if I trust that because they have not looked good in the red zone.
Yeah, their roughest days have easily been in kind of those situational periods. I did think Jones was less worse than Richardson on Saturday.
Less worse is always crazy.
You're
right.
I think I believe it was a 2-minute drive to get them into field goal range.
Yeah.
At the end of practice, whereas Richardson's drive stalled out pretty quickly there. But they definitely bounced back yesterday. Again, we'll throw in the context that I think is necessary. The Colts are down 3 of their top 5 corners again yesterday. Javarius Ward seems to be one day on, one day off right now here in the training camp setting. And I thought yesterday, from a guy that needs a lot of work and a lot of developmental stuff from the pocket, needs to get better, I thought yesterday was Riley Leonard's best day.
Yes, he was balling.
Second half of the national title game, it looked like.
Yeah, I was thinking if you got a little bit more of this in the first half of that game, maybe you're a national champion.
Kevin started unbuttoning his shirt with the shamrock painted on it. He was getting very excited.
He certainly was.
I think James has heard enough of my Riley Leonard comments to know that my true thoughts on him.
Yeah, and honestly, your true thoughts are probably correct because he had struggled passing the ball throughout training camp. And to pump the brakes a little bit, I believe I got a comment on one of my stories this morning because I mentioned him in passing, and someone was like, "Oh man, this is promising. He could be, the quarterback if Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones don't work out." No, he cannot. No, if they start Riley Leonard, they will be, in my mind, tanking for a top 5 pick next year. He is not an NFL quarterback right now as far as starting quarterback. Now, he has some tools that you can work with and make him, I believe, a quality backup option. But at least yesterday was a step in the right direction and kind of gives you, if you squint your eyes, okay, I can see why he was chosen in the 6th round and why they like some of his traits. And he was having a blast out there. And really, credit to him because he threw some dimes. This was not just him.
No, second,
throwing
third level.
Checkdowns.
Yeah.
No, he was throwing some nice passes down the field and having some fun with it, which he probably needed a day like that because of, again, just how hard it is to transition to the NFL at all, let alone at quarterback.
Matt Verderam from SI. He's going to join us coming up on the other side. We'll talk NFL training camps. He's been on some tours. We will have him join us next. It is the Fan Morning Show right here. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. 9 o'clock hour here on this Monday morning. Colts off from today. Actually, it's a travel day for the Colts. Travel day for James Boyd. Colts will be in Baltimore.
I'll be sitting next to Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson breaking down film on the way to Baltimore and asking them, hey, this is what I saw. Hey, Anthony, you got to get the ball here. Daniel, come on, man, wake up. I'll make sure to report back and let you all know what they think of Coach Boyd.
Slightly different lines of TSA for Daniel Jones versus James Boyd today.
I do love my pre-check, though, I must say.
Jeff will be back tomorrow. It'll be Jeff and myself, Kevin Bowe, in the next couple of days before James rejoins us. Joint practice coming up tomorrow in Baltimore. Again, the preseason opener Thursday. James, I wouldn't say there's been a lot of national media making the rounds to Grand Park. There's been a little bit, and our next guest is one of the members of the national media that has been to Grand Park.
Yes, Matt Verderam from SI made the trip out to Westfield to see Colts practice, and he was kind enough to join us this morning. So, Matt, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. How are you?
I do want to ask. I'm doing great as well, but where are you right now? Are you on the road?
No, it's actually I'm gonna be in Kansas City tomorrow, but I'm home. I went home for the weekend, so I'm relaxing for a day.
Yeah. For the folks listening, Matt is one of those guys who makes several trips around the country this time of year to check in on all the camps, and you were able to stop by Colts camp, and obviously a lot has transpired since then with the quarterbacks. But just your initial thought on the quarterback battle. And, which way would you be leaning right now with the context of knowing, at least for those here on the ground, beyond just that one day you were out here, Matt, that it has been relatively even, but Daniel Jones has been more consistent, Anthony probably more explosive?
Yeah, I mean, look, when they signed Daniel Jones, my first thought was that Daniel Jones is going to get a real shot to start, and I think he probably will start. Now, I kind of feel, though, like if it's even close, I would start Richardson. Because if you start Richardson and he's not good, it doesn't work, whatever, like, okay, you just go to Daniel Jones. If you start Daniel Jones, you're essentially saying, hey, look, we're done with Anthony Richardson. And I don't know, like, yeah, could you go back to him? I mean, yes, you can. But you're telling him you have no confidence in him. You have no faith in him. So I just think if you're the Colts, you're not winning the Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. It's not like Daniel Jones is going to go in there and be unbelievable. That's not going to happen. So I would try to go with my number 4 overall pick first. And then if it doesn't work out, okay, fine. Then you go to Jones, and you at least made a good faith effort.
Matt, you were a part of the group that chatted with both quarterbacks. I think it's a little different in the candid nature, Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones. But I was kind of struck by some of Richardson's comments with you guys. He certainly, I thought, was pretty candid in explaining, like, all right, I got to bleep and get off the pot right now. Could you share a little bit of what that conversation was like with him?
Yeah, look, he was very candid. I think we spoke to him for about 8 minutes, and I led with a quote in my camp report from Indianapolis that day saying, look, Richardson sat there and said to us, well, I got to stop slacking off. I mean, that's a quote that I don't think I've ever had an NFL player say to me, they've got to stop slacking off. So, on one hand, you're like, well, geez, I mean, you've been slacking off for the last 2 years. That's not great. On the other hand, it takes, real introspection to be able to say that and to say it assumingly with the idea that you've stopped. Now, look, he also talked about he wanted to master the offense. He wanted to be able to teach the offense like a coach. All of that stuff is really, encouraging. The question becomes, okay, how much progress can you make in an offseason? Because he's got to make a lot. I mean, he was awful last year. So he was forthcoming. He acknowledged the fact he was terrible last season. He acknowledged the fact that he frankly hasn't been putting in the amount of work he had to put in. But he feels like he rectified that this offseason. Does that show up in his play? And, look, I give him credit for recognizing that. But at the same point, that's also, let's be honest. I mean, that's a rough look for a guy who you're coming into the league expected to be the franchise. But I would also sit here and say he's one of the most inexperienced quarterbacks to ever walk into the NFL. I mean, he hadn't thrown 1,000 passes between high school and college. So it's a learning curve. But it's the NFL. They're not going to give you 5 years. You got to figure it out, and he's obviously, he's got to figure it out right now.
To piggyback off that, Matt, we've heard a lot of conversations, and I believe Chris Ballard has even admitted at this point maybe we gave him too much too soon, or perhaps we shouldn't have played him right out the gate. From your perspective, how has that conversation around quarterbacks changed? Because I haven't seen in my time covering the NFL, and I'm going to my 4th season, and obviously I've watched and been a fan for quite some time, but over the last 10 years, who's the quarterback that was drafted very high that waited and sat? When I hear references about that, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Aaron Rodgers, and others, but I mean, those years are getting further and further away, and I don't know if the NFL is it patient enough as a league to draft the guys high as Anthony Richardson and not play him right away? Or how do you, I guess, fall in that debate?
No, I mean, look, with Rodgers and Mahomes, the same thing was true with both guys. Those guys were drafted by teams that were originally picking in the 20s. And Rodgers was actually taken in the 20s. Mahomes, I mean, the Chiefs went from 27 to 10. The Chiefs were 12-4 the year Mahomes got drafted. They had the luxury of sitting there and saying, hey, we're going to play Alex Smith. We're a really good team with Alex Smith. So it's different than when you're drafting a guy. And, you know, I remember that year when the Colts drafted, you know, Richardson. And I got to camp that year, and it's him and it's Gardner Minshew. You're going to play Anthony Richardson. You just are. Like, it's like Drake May last year, and there's all this talk like, oh, are the Pats going to play Drake May? Yeah, they are. They're going to play Drake May because they stink. They're going to play him. You know, I mean, it's just the other thing that's different is, you know, I'm 30. Well, hell, it's my birthday this morning, so I'm 37. Like,
happy birthday, brother!
Thank you. Yeah,
Matt, you gotta hang up, man. I mean, what in the world? Jeez, James Boyd's booking you on.
He didn't tell me that. He didn't tell me that. That's how I know I got real love out here from my friends, Kevin.
It's 37, guys. It's not 21. Okay.
Yeah,
fair. But you know what? Like, the point I'm making is, like, I grew up in the 90s where if you hired a coach, that coach got 3 years, right? Like, minimum. Like, that guy was getting 3 years. You might have 1 year now in the NFL, maybe 2. But, like, there's not a coach on earth who's getting 3 guaranteed years coming into the league. It's just not. So I think a lot of times these coaches come in and they go, okay, well, guess what? We got to win now. I can't wait. I can't wait forever. You know, we got to – it's like right now with Jackson Dart with the Giants. Now, Dable actually has had a couple of years because they had the early success. Dable, at some point here, they're playing Jackson Dart. They're just going to. Like, if they're 1-4 with Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart's playing because Dable's going to sit there, and so is Joe Shane. They're going to sit there and go, well, we've got to win now. We've got to show something now. And if we don't do that, we're fired. We're gone. Our kids are changing schools. Like, we got to do – so I think that's a lot of it, too. There's just no patience in the league anymore.
Matt Verderam from SI with us here on his 37th birthday. Gosh, that just makes me all of a sudden cringe. That I'm going to be 36 next month, and I'll probably feel the same way Matt feels about his 37th birthday here coming up.
Yeah.
Matt, let's go with the 2 big names in the NFC East right now and their futures. Do you think more realistic Micah Parsons gets moved or more realistic Terry McLaurin gets moved?
I don't think either one of them are getting moved. But if I had to say one or the other, I'll say McLaurin just because he's older. But I would be shocked. I'd be shocked. If you're the Commanders, you just went to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991. You're going to trade that guy, and who's your number 1 receiver? Deebo Samuel? I'm sorry, Deebo Samuel's not anybody's number 1 receiver. Okay? I mean, you cannot tell Jaden Daniels, hey, look, Jaden, you're the offensive rookie of the year. You're spectacular. You've turned around the biggest dumpster fire of a franchise in the league for the last 25 years running. Like, we're going to trade away your only real weapon. Good luck to you. I mean, you can't do that. And also, too, who are they paying? You know, I mean, Deron Payne's getting paid. Tunzel's paid. He's on short-term debt. They've got the money. I just think they figure it out here at some point. I'd be shocked if they don't. The Cowboys, you also sit there and say, look, history just says Jerry's eventually going to overpay Mike Parsons. That's what he does. He's going to sit there. Jerry just wants to have headlines for a month before he pays the guy. Now, in the process, he's going to infuriate everybody in the building, but he doesn't care because he's Jerry. And he just wants – I made this point on a podcast I did yesterday. Jerry Jones doesn't care if he wins. He doesn't care. He's not – it doesn't matter to him. He wants to be in the headlines. Jerry's version of winning is leading First Takes A block 4 times a week. That's what Jerry cares about. And if Jerry does that and they go 9-8, that's great. Hang the banner. That's all he cares about. He doesn't – they're not a serious franchise, and they haven't been for a long time. And I think eventually he'll pay Parsons $43 million a year, and Parsons will get over it because money, fixes everything, right? I mean, if your boss pisses you off, but then all of a sudden your boss doubles your salary, you're pretty good with your boss again. Like, it's just, I think that's how this goes. I think that's how this shakes. But the Cowboys in particular have a long-standing history of waiting forever to pay guys and then overpaying them. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Matt, I'll tell you this. When it comes to money, people always say, money can't buy happiness. But if I got just enough, it might make it close enough where I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, look, money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys a lot of things that make you happy. And, I mean, Micah Parsons, if all of a sudden Jerry walks in there and says, hey, Micah, listen, how's 4 and 180 sound? I got to tell you, Micah Parsons is going to be a Cowboy. Like that, everybody's going to get over it. That's what's going to happen. And I think that's where this will probably end up.
Matt, last one from me. You obviously have done some training camp tours, and you are about to restart them again. I know a lot of them you no longer go off-site. Grand Park, where Colts had their training camp, is one of those places. You do go off-site. It's about a 20, 30-minute drive from their team complex. How does that compare to, I guess, some of your other training camp stops? Because that obviously has changed a whole lot around the NFL over the last probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I like it. I like getting away from team facilities. Like I said, I'll be in Kansas City tomorrow for Wednesday's practice, and they practice at a college out in St. Joe, Missouri, which is, they're at that college. They're in dorm rooms for about 5 weeks. They don't even leave. But yeah, it's cool. It's unique. The Vikings are at their own facility. The Lions they're at their practice facility. Same with the Bears, and the Packers are right there at Lambeau. I mean, they're in the shadow of Lambeau Field. I think it's always fun, to kind of get away and feel like you are, I don't say isolated, but kind of just in that mode of football. I think where the Colts hold their stuff in Westfield is great for the fans. They have a great setup. You can get in and you can see everybody. And the day I was there, it was about 110 degrees, it felt like. And, it was packed. It was packed. I mean, so I think it's good when fans have full access and they can see the team, and, especially for fans maybe they can't afford to go to a game and spend all that kind of money. I think it's a really good thing when teams get away and give fans the opportunity to go and watch and see their heroes.
Well, and we'll see tomorrow if Kansas City's playing a little tune, maybe here. Yeah. Maybe.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe. Matt Verderam, maybe.
I really
getting down on the sideline. I could see Andy Reid getting down to that, Matt.
Matt, what we got on the birthday slate, man? It can't be just talking to us on the radio.
Oh, God. What do I have on my birthday slate? Yeah, I have another radio thing. And then I'll probably go play some pickleball because I'm elderly.
There we go.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Probably, I'm Italian. I'll probably go get like a birthday cannoli and sit there and eat it in silence as my kids are at day camp and just live the dream.
There you go.
That's what 37 looks like.
Nothing has screamed 37-year-old more than that description right there. Matt Verderam from Mesa.
That's it.
Matt, safe travels, man, and thank you for the time.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Great stuff right there from Matt Verderam. The dig at Jerry Jones did make me smile here on this Monday morning.
He doesn't hold back.
To him. No, indeed. He does not hold back at all. Jimmy chiming in here. He goes, you two are completely missing the point on the quarterbacks. Both have said it's even, but the biggest separation is AR is an elite runner, as Jones is maybe slightly above average, so it's a no-brainer.
No, I'm not going there at all.
He goes, AR gives us the best chance to win, period.
I'm not going there at all either. Why would you think that? He's 8-7 as a starter in the NFL. Obviously, Daniel Jones doesn't have a better record than that. But Daniel Jones led a team to the playoffs before. And the year he did that, I believe he ran for about 700 yards. And the thing about running is that every time that Anthony Richardson has done it, or most times in his career, I don't want to say most times, but the majority of his injuries have come from running and being hit after the run. So I cannot say he's a better runner. Yes, he's more dynamic. He can run faster in a straight line. In the combine, he looks like a freak. But in actual real life, I cannot tell you right now that Anthony Richardson is a better rusher or better runner than Daniel Jones because of the health factor. The health is the biggest thing, and I just can't bet on that right now. I mean, a vacuum and bubble wrap and, yeah, he's a better runner. But in reality, no, I cannot give you that title.
Yeah, I guess to Jimmy's point, there's probably, and I'll speak for myself, there's probably like two sides to the whole quarterback conversation of I'm going to offer my own opinion, but at the end of the day, my own opinion is for 7 to 10 a.m. 5 days a week. At the end of the day, it's Shane Steichen's opinion. So I think the conversation today is if you were going to make me pick a starting quarterback today, I would pick Richardson, I guess, to answer the question. But that's not my call. It's obviously Shane Steichen's call. So I'm trying to put myself into Steichen's shoes.
Right.
Based off his comments on the record, off the record, based off how the last couple of years have gone, life with Richardson versus what life with Jones could be, and tried to look at it through that lens. Because, yeah, my lens can be my opinion, but again, and this probably goes for every sports conversation we have, sure, we offer our thoughts on it, but at the end of the day, you also have to look at it from the team side of it. And again, I think Shane Steichen's much more in the Daniel Jones boat than most want to admit. So that would not be my thought, but that's how I probably view it from a Colts standpoint. Like, what was the poll we did, Mark? Like 85 to 15% want Anthony Richardson?
Uh-huh.
There's no chance in hell Shane Steichen thinks that.
No, not
like
at all.
that overwhelming.
What do you think his percentage is?
Much, much closer to 50-50.
I would say 55, 45.
85 to 15. Shane Steichen is not living in a world where this is like, oh, yeah, it'll be Anthony Richardson's keys, no questions asked, which is how, pretty much every fan is viewing it right now.
Yeah, but I will throw this out there to not completely poo-poo Jimmy's point. My only knock on Anthony as a runner is the health factor. Yes, if he can stay healthy, I do believe he could be a more dynamic runner than Daniel Jones. It's just, can you hold up? And if he does, that does excite me from a scheme standpoint. To have Anthony Richardson in that backfield with Jonathan Taylor, you have Tyler Warren now who could be in the mix as well. And I think low red zone situations, they will be dominant if they get there. I mean, you got to get there down the field. But in those, 3 yards in, goal line situations, how do you not score with a quarterback who's dropped some weight? So I think Anthony told us he's 240 now, but still 240, 6'4". JT's still one of the best backs in the league. Tyler Warren's done some wildcat stuff in his career. He's a bruising runner as well. That is exciting, but that's the one biggest thing we can't predict out of all this quarterback talk is the health factor, and how does that skew or sway this quarterback competition? Because honestly, that could be the determining factor, by week 1 or week 2, if one or the other gets banged up.
Shout out right here. We've got a lot of kids going back to school today. This is from listener Matt. You can give a shout out to Colton. He's at his first day of school starting kindergarten. I know IPS going
Give him
back
hell, Colton.
Today. So Max Bowen heading back, mercifully, thankfully. So yes, happy first day of school to many out there. We appreciate you guys making us a part of your morning commute.
So it's full week of school right out of the gate?
Full week. Yeah.
Man.
Right out
As
of
a
the gate.
parent, do you just give a fist pump when you drop them off or
Well,
something?
it's like the last day of school, every teacher you can find at a happy hour locally. And like today or last week, you can find every stay-at-home mom or dad at a happy hour, right? Is that how it goes?
Fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting the sleep schedule back on track, though, after summer vacation, that we still haven't figured that out yet.
No, you guys have heard me. I said, and this is no political statement, but daylight savings time as a young parent, I know where I'm voting every time.
Yep.
Whatever makes it darker earlier. That's all I'm saying. Let's check it out. James, let's actually start a little Fever, and then we'll go back to the Colts. And the Fever right now is hot and alive and well. One of the best teams right now in the WNBA. 5 straight. They are 5 games above 500. First time, I think, since their final run in 2015 or 16. I don't know. Those years run together a little bit. But they've played great basketball without Caitlin Clark. And yesterday, again, balanced. You pointed out earlier in the show, this is not Kelsey Mitchell just going off. This has been great balance and really winning with their defense. And that was definitely the case yesterday because they didn't shoot it well and they turned it over a ton.
Yes, I believe, again, longest winning streak since 2015. 2016 was actually when they won their championship, I believe. Or actually, no, was it 2012? I'm sorry. for this team. 2016 was the last year that Tamika Catchings was with the team. So to have
they had
this,
a finals run in there, right? Didn't they lose in the
Yes.
finals one of those years?
Yeah, but to have this amount of success, for the first time since basically Tamika with Caitlin Clark out of the lineup speaks to the overall performance of the team. And shout out to Aaliyah Boston, stepped up in the fourth quarter again.
That is 6 straight double-doubles for her. That is a franchise mark. Again, we've talked a lot about the Colts today. They're off to Baltimore. Joint practice tomorrow. Preseason opener Thursday at 7.
Oh, I have a correction here from Eddie Garrison. The Fever actually had a 5-game winning streak last year. This is the first time they've been 5 games above 500, since 2015. Continue.
Thank you to Eddie for that. And you'll hear him tomorrow, 9:45. 10 o'clock tip, LA Sparks and Fever. Eddie, you'll have your pregame coverage right here on The Fan. Again, yesterday, Colts practice. It was a good bounce-back day for the quarterbacks. Latu also had an impressive day as a rusher, but unfortunately, yesterday's practice will probably be most remembered for the end of practice, and that was when Savon Ahmed was taken down on what looked to be, kind of the unfortunate poster child of a hip drop tackle by undrafted safety Trey Washington. Really ugly injury scene, and honestly, it was probably one of the more subdued and somber Shane Steichen press conferences that he has had after practice. Let's go ahead and play that opening statement, Mark. This was Shane Steichen yesterday following practice.
First off, Savon, thoughts and prayers with him right now. Obviously, got a severe leg injury in practice. Never want to see that happen. I know we don't encourage hip drop tackles. I know Trey's, down in the dumps, and I don't think he's trying to do that. We're just trying to, create an edge is what I'm trying to get done. Especially in the developmental, those guys are going to have to tackle, come preseason. So. But thoughts and prayers with Savon, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
So, again, it was a live tackling period is what Shane was mentioning there, and you do see this with the third-team guys. I don't know. Let's call it maybe a handful of times we've seen it through the 9 practices. But nonetheless, this was a play where Ahmed was in the open field. He was about to score, and Trey Washington just didn't get off him in time, and that's what led to really just a jarring scene. The field went immediately silent. And unfortunately, the only thing you could hear really was Ahmed's screaming pain. Eventually, air casted, stretchered off, and it looked like an ambulance was coming to Grand Park to take him for further evaluation there. This obviously does not matter in the grand scheme of it for him as a player, but we are getting some questions from some people, James. A lot of people have asked, okay, could you give a little bit more background on these two? Like, where are they kind of at in the pecking order? Again, Washington, undrafted free agent from Ole Miss. Don't think he is a guy in line to make the team.
No, I don't
based
think
off
that.
how
Based off of
it's
that
been
play
so far.
or beyond that play, no.
I would say I've noticed Ahmed a little bit more. I don't think again he was maybe in line to earn a 53-man roster spot, but he actually was on the practice squad for this team last year. And with running backs, what you really hate is any injury at age 26, 27.
Yeah,
you start to think about how much longer will you be able to play. Period. Which I just think is the unfortunate nature of that position.
Yeah, especially considering that Savon Ahmed had been sort of an NFL journeyman and kind of like a fringe NFL player. And that's not to discredit his career. It's just the reality of how hard it is to survive sometimes in the NFL. And that's what he was doing or had been doing. And you just wonder, with the severe lower right leg injury, something like that, could that be the last time you're on the NFL field because you have to work so hard to get back and get an opportunity. And we do know that this league, when it comes to the running back position in particular, it chews you up and spits you out most times. And so, unfortunate situation for him, but I'm hoping he has, and I would assume he has, a very, great support system to help him get through a tough time.
Colts off to Baltimore again today. That joint practice scheduled for 1 o'clock tomorrow. Last thing I'll throw in there, shout out to the legend that is Cole Hawker. We watched him a couple years ago at the Paris Olympics. Have the close of a lifetime in winning gold there. Yesterday, he did it again, this time in the 5,000 meters of the U.S. Championships there. You can't let Cole Hawker get inside position. I don't know if you guys saw the highlight of this. Shout out to Lara Overton. She was all over it. Of course, her track passion and cross-country passion, second to none here. But Cole Hawker got the inside lane. You do that, it's over.
He can run.
He's going to beat you to the tape.
Yeah. Special, athlete, and I do, enjoy giving the runners some love. It is not easy what they do because that is some pain that they put themselves through to have some success.
Some pain and some gain. It's been a lot of gain here in the last week for A.D. Mitchell. We'll get a little recap on where he's at here in his second NFL training camp, and certainly he's one that will not mince words in describing his own play. We'll play that for you on the other side. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton here on a Monday. Mark, I'm seeing this here from Fitch. He was asking why no update from SummerSlam. You know, we did touch on this earlier in the show. I definitely did not ignore that, but I guess the most recent update, we're a little bit up against it. But yes, could you fill our audience in? Tyrese Halliburton loses his crutch last night at SummerSlam, and Cody Rhodes got the last laugh.
Yeah, he's front and center for night 2 of SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium. Got a nice ovation. Some boos, but nice ovation from the New York/New Jersey crowd and everything. But main event was Cody Rhodes against John Cena for the Undisputed Championship, and it was a street fight, so no rules. And at some point, John Cena walks over to the crowd by Tyrese Halliburton, grabs one of his crutches, and lays it into the back of Cody Rhodes, smashes it in half, basically. So if that was a legit crutch for Tyrese Halliburton, I'm sure he's kind of like, I need to get a replacement here before I get out of town.
Yeah, he's not on the single crutch rehab just yet there. Boy, he's had quite the month and a half here.
Live it up, brother.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see. It was a nice surprise. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, he's a big wrestling fan, but I was like, oh, okay. He got on the plane and went out to MetLife Stadium. That's pretty cool.
A quiet time for the NBA right now, but Tyrese Halliburton out there in Giants-Jets area last night. I want to play this A.D. Mitchell clip. James Boyd, I think a total 180 from week 1 to week 2 with A.D. Mitchell.
Of camp.
Yes, of camp. A lot of drops in week 1. Honestly, the pads, since they've come on, he's taken his game, I think,
he said something was in the air.
Yes, he did.
We were in the upside down.
So yes, I know. It sounded like a Stranger Things episode there from A.D. Mitchell, but never one to shy away from confidence. Here was A.D. Mitchell over the weekend.
Relax. Spent a lot of time with the fam. Spent a lot of time with my daughter. And then kind of once it came down to work, I mean, I knew I belonged. Like, I knew if somebody leave me one-on-one on the island, like somebody gonna regret it, and it ain't gonna be me. So, kind of just refining my game, knowing where to be. I feel like the main thing was probably building chemistry with quarterbacks. I feel like I run routes a little differently, changing tempos, changing speeds a lot. So, probably getting right with the quarterbacks was probably the biggest thing, to go back a couple questions. So yeah, but I definitely knew I belonged.
I was amazed, borderline mesmerized, how quickly he went from, I was just relaxing with the family, to if you're gonna leave me one-on-one with somebody, you're gonna regret it, and it ain't gonna be me. That was a great line.
Oh, I loved it. He had a couple of great one-liners. He had was something in the air. And then he also was saying, I wasn't too worried about it because
my hands work.
I can still get open. I'm like, ooh, he talking heavy right now. You talking that talk. You got to back it up on Sundays.
When he said getting right at the quarterbacks, like, honestly, he's a guy Thursday night I'm going to look forward to, because,
yes,
last week when he started to make a better impression, it was still one-on-ones. It was still 7-on-7. And then Thursday night at that night practice, for those that are out there, he was great. That was probably his best practice in an 11-on-11 setting. Like, in the team stuff, when chaos is around you, can you get right with the quarterbacks, to use his phrase there? And so I think the team moments for him, because again, unlike some other positions in the team, there's not really open playing time at wide receiver.
Right.
Yes, you do rotate a good amount there, but like, your top 3 are your top 3. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, and Josh Downs. So he's got to earn that from the quarterbacks. And, him and Daniel Jones, that relationship at times has looked like a 7th grade sort of relationship, where you're dating in 3rd period, and then by 6th period, you're not dating anymore, and then you ride the bus home, and now you're dating again. Like, that's a little bit how that back and forth has been between those two. So I assume he will be in the category, James Boyd, of a good amount of playing time, no matter who the quarterback is, coming up on Thursday night.
Absolutely. And this is a chance to, again, show what you can do in a real football setting, because that's the piece that's been missing for A.D. Mitchell. People question his physicality, question his toughness going across the middle. Here's a chance to prove
I just question his reliability in finishing plays.
But I think a lot of that finishing has to do with physicality.
Sure.
When we've seen him catch the ball, it's because we know you're probably going to get hit afterwards. can you prove that part of it? Because the talent is there. I've said this, and I'm not some genius. We all, I think, would agree that he probably has the most physical talent in that wide receiver room when it comes to long speed, the ability to separate, stop, start, hands, all those things. I mean, when he's balling like he has been as of late throughout training camp, he looks like a dude out there. But again, I preface all of that by saying we haven't seen it enough in real games. And I get that he's going into his second year, so I'll give him some grace. You know, rocky start, certainly last year. But what does it look like come Thursday night and beyond just that preseason opener?
So what games does Gen Con oversee?
I have no
here?
idea. But I did see that they were here, I believe, right?
Is it all types of video games?
That
Card games too?
Yeah, board games, card games, all that stuff. Yeah, I was leaving. I did IST on Friday night, and even at like 12:30, by the time I got out of here, the convention center is still crawling with people. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
does that thing go 24/7? Are they doing like board games all night? And
I
stuff?
left
don't
the building
understand.
Friday, and it looked like Halloween driving up Illinois.
Yeah. There's always something going on downtown, whether it's the WNBA All-Star Game, Gen Con.
Well, Gen Con is
PopCon.
huge in terms of one of the bigger conventions we have here.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now,
they're out and about.
would that include Mario?
You want to do your Mario impression again?
I think I'm better as Luigi.
Okay.
But does that include Mario?
I would assume
I don't want
so.
to offend anybody here. Okay, Mark.
Star Wars, all that stuff. Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons.
Maddie just sent me, do you do this where you take the day one of school picture with the kids?
Oh, with the chalkboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that.
And so for Max Bowen, it says, who do you want to be when you grow up is the question. He has answered that question with a Mario character. 317-239-1070. If you can name the Mario character that Max Bowen wants to be when he grows up, then you get 2 tickets to Live Golf.
Look at that.
And I actually think John Rahm would be a good comp for this character.
Okay.
You can kind of go down that path. Ground pass is correct, Mark, and this is all 3 days?
Ground, I don't know if it's all 3. I think I should probably look. I don't know if it's all 3 days.
A pair of tickets, Live Golf, a week from Friday up there at Chatham Hills in Westfield. 317-239-1070. If you can name who Max Bowen wants to be when he grows up, the Mario character, you're heading to Westfield. We'll do it one final time here. Fan Morning Show. Shout out to listener Brad. He had Max Bowen pegged as Bowser. What he wants to be when he grows up.
Solid choice.
Live golf tickets coming your way. You said Toad was the first guess, Mark
Yeah,
Beckton?
that was the first one.
Great Mario Kart player, Toad.
Oh, there's no one better.
But yeah, Bowser. You think that's a good John Rahm comparison?
I'd say so, yeah. I could see it.
And then who's the softest Mario character? We used that for Bryson.
Who is that?
I was
Who
gonna
would that
say,
be?
is,
Well, Evan Sherrill said Wario, which I loved Wario. Wario Stadium was always a grind. You want to talk about a 4-lap battle where you really got to be locked in there.
yeah.
That and Rainbow Road.
Oh, Rainbow Road can kiss my you-know-what.
Toad Beach, also
You
solid.
bringing
Love
back
that track.
some dark memories there.
Some major PTSD. Yeah. Toad's Turnpike, I felt like I had some bad memories. That's why my disgruntled Toad. We'll give away a pair of tickets to Live Golf here coming up all this week. Jeff should be back tomorrow. James Boyd, BWI Airport calling your name. Any plans around your trip to Baltimore? I feel like you'll be there a while with really only, 1 to 3 tomorrow is your big viewing practice.
Yes, I will actually be back Thursday. I will not stay for the game. So, yeah, I'll be out there later today, tomorrow, and then coming back Wednesday morning. But the plan for me whenever I go to Baltimore beyond doing my actual job is to find some good seafood. So that will be on the agenda later today.
Yeah, my wife used to travel a lot to like the Mid-Atlantic area for work, and I feel like that was kind of always the appeal to it. I don't think there was a ton of go-to whatever spots or sightseeing necessarily in Baltimore, but nonetheless, that's where you'll be. I think it's a great test for the Colts. Frankly, I think Baltimore is one of the more complete teams in the league.
Absolutely. I mean, their expectations over in Baltimore right now is to go win the Super Bowl.
Right.
And obviously they have the 2-time league MVP, 3-time first-team All-Pro, and Lamar Jackson, a future Hall of Famer, I think. And so, and their defense, as far as the quarterback play goes for the Colts, is that defense for the Ravens is going to test them for sure. They have some All-Pros and very talented players on that back end. I think that can challenge this group. Just added Jair Alexander from Green Bay to that secondary, so they have some dudes that can make plays, and I don't think this is going to be an easy practice by any means for the Colts. So I will have all that and more for you at the Athletic, but also
Don't forget that fantastic running back they have in Derrick Henry.
Yeah, they have a fantastic running back in Derrick Henry.
I don't know how much tread he has left on the tires.
He got a lot of tread left on the tires, and
That man defies the odds.
He does. Honestly, he might be like the last of a dying breed when it comes to the all-time great running backs. He might be the last running back to crack 10,000 rushing yards in their career because they just don't really last that long in the NFL anymore. But I'll have all that more in the Athletic, and also I'll be calling into the show to give you all updates from there.
Does it surprise you at all that they are the betting favorite right now to win it all, Baltimore? Slight favorite over who you would think, Philly, KC, and Buffalo. But right now, the betting favorite is the Baltimore Ravens for Super Bowl 60.
I am a little surprised, mainly because we haven't seen Lamar Jackson play at MVP level in the playoffs.
Is it just one AFC title game appearance for them?
Yes. It was, I want to say, a couple years ago.
In their own stadium, right?
and Lamar had a bad game. He's been turnover.
Flowers, that huge fumble.
Yeah, they've been turnover prone. And last year, Mark Andrews with the most nightmarish game you'll ever see.
About that, yeah.
But that's why I feel like I would still have Philly as my favorite because they're brought back all their top guys. They're still relatively young in all their positions that they need to be. And Jalen Hurts, unlike Lamar Jackson, has showed up and had better playoff performances on his resume.
You guys believe that Super Bowl logo trend, supposedly, where it's like the colors in the logo have revealed the Super Bowl teams?
I know. That thing is so wild. And this year we're out west, right? Santa Clara?
Yeah, Santa Clara.
Yeah. What's the other one? It's like if the team that wears white jerseys or whatever, loses X amount of times if you're wearing the white jerseys versus if you're not.
This year's Super Bowl logo's got a million colors.
I know.
It's like Rainbow Road.
So
I know.
Does that mean by default it's going to work, this little theory that
Well, everybody could be in
right.
it.
People are throwing out purple could be the Ravens, and then there's green and yellow. So it's is that the Packers, or is that the Eagles, or there's blue, is that the Chargers? There's the red and the yellow, that could be the Chiefs. There's 6 different teams that could be. I don't know.
How about this here from Evan? He said that he thought Max would choose Wario for the farting power. I must say I was a little unfamiliar with this, but Evan says, yeah, in Super Smash Brothers, you can fart on other players. If Max Bowen knew this, he would dump Bowser quicker than you could imagine. He'd be all in on Wario.
I need to remember that because I played Super Smash Brothers. I don't remember the ability to fart on other players.
No, I don't know if I want to teach him that. How about this from Brant? You guys seen this picture? He's got a full Rainbow Road track with 52 Mario Karts.
Nice.
Like, picture many Mario Karts. These things are awesome.
Nice.
Man, that is great. And boy, his house looks so organized.
I was gonna say, is yours looking like that?
No, hell no. That is awesome. Absolutely love that. Jake will be out at the State Fair coming up on Wednesday. Mark, I think we're gonna go out there tomorrow. Any must stops for the family tomorrow?
Where's this again? The State Fair? I would
Fair.
say. Boy, I mean, there's plenty of ride. Are your kids big like carnival ride people, or they want to be?
Are they still too young?
No, I mean, I think we'll probably dabble a little bit, but not as much. We're not there to like all of a sudden just go ride after ride after ride after ride.
How adventurous are you going to be in the food department?
I plan to eat a very light lunch.
Okay.
Very light. It might just be a breakfast day.
So, like, when Ashley and I went Friday, like, we didn't go with the kids yet. So there's still some things I'm like, okay, I know where this is at now. Like, I think James and I are both, like, same brain here. The deep fried barbecue pork sandwich, the pork chop
That does
sandwich.
sound good.
James and I were like, yeah, we need to try that. I saw where it is. I'm going to get it the next time we go. So there's that. I'm not lying. The bacon pickle ranch pizza is excellent. It sounds kind of crazy.
It does sound crazy.
But it's delicious.
Bacon pickle ranch pizza. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's very good.
Anything else?
If you or Maddie are going to consume any adult beverages, I would say
probably me more than her 25-week
brunch mimosa
pregnancy.
is solid. The brunch mimosa is very good. You can get the cotton candy margarita. That is also very good.
And that's what Jake Query judged you for?
No, he could judge me on the cotton candy Sun King beer. I don't think he was aware it was Sun King. He thought I was just drinking like a cotton candy soda. And I was like, no, this is a beer, my friend. And he's like, oh, okay. So there's that as well. That is also very good. Also, I think you and Maddie would probably like the Shake Up. It's a pineapple, almost like a pineapple whip alcoholic beverage, but it's got like gin. It's a gin cocktail. Very good.
Like something you'd have on a honeymoon.
Yes. So there's a pineapple one. There's a lemonade one. They're both very good.
Good to know. Weather looks pretty good for State Fair week. One last Colts one here. James Boyd, this from Fitch. Will DJ Giddens be in line for backup running back over Khalil Herbert? You think you've got a defined role yet behind Taylor?
I do believe it's DJ Giddens, given the pass catching ability, and he's smooth running that football.
Curious if there is a third down role. Herbert's a veteran. Does he kind of take those duties? Again, I think that's still a little bit up in the air, but yes, DJ Giddens, smooth operator is a good way to describe it. All right, Jeff will be back tomorrow. James off to Baltimore. Everybody have a great start to your week.